Chapter 415. Tian Shanzi was still very excited, completely unaware of Li Xiaoyan's little calculations, and continued to chatter. Since we found Buzhou Mountain, then from now on, this world belongs to the cultivators. Tian Shanzi, you should think of a way to leave this place first. Tang Jing interrupted him and said. Tian Shanzi said without care, we will naturally think of a way. What are you worried about? It seems that all of this is the will of the heavens. The Buzhou Mountain that has disappeared for countless years has reappeared. This is destined to let the cultivators return to this world. Hearing this, Li Xiaoyan's face became more and more unsightly. His lips trembled a few times, but in the end, he did not say anything. Seeing this, Tang Zhang sighed inwardly, thinking that she must have made up her mind. This time when she returned, the Li Palace's attitude would change. Maybe they would stand together with the martial organization and jointly resist the cultivators. In addition, the Azure Dragon store that had always been elusive would also join this army. At that time, the world would really be in chaos. Little brat, why do I feel that there is something outside the courtyard? The shadow is so tall. What is it? Tian Shanzi saw the tall shadow beside him and asked suspiciously. It is the Witch Clan's guardian god, the Four Symbols Venerable. Four Symbols Venerable? Tian Shanzi sucked in a breath of cold air. The Four Symbols Venerable also appeared. So the Witch Clan's guardian god you mentioned before is actually the Four Symbols Venerable. This is too unexpected. Haha, this is really the heavens helping me? Obviously, Tian Shanzi also knew of the great name of the Four Symbols Venerable. Hurry up and tell this big guy to make a move. Break this circle prison formation. Tian Shanzi said excitedly. Does it have the ability? Of course it does. You little brat really underestimated the strength of the Four Symbols Venerable, and also overestimated the power of the circle prison formation. The circle prison formation is only effective against people who enter the formation. It has no effect against people or things outside the formation. Tian Shanzi explained. Oh, that means we have a chance to escape. Tang Zhang was overjoyed. With a thought, the Four Symbols Venerables also moved. Like an earthquake, they kicked the courtyard door. Boom! The courtyard door remained unscathed, but the Four Symbols Venerable actually took a step back. Tang Zhang was shocked. What's going on? Who dares to destroy my courtyard? A crisp and angry shout rang out. This voice was very young and tender. A figure flashed, and everyone saw a person walking out of the house. First, it was a pair of short and small feet. The few of them were stunned for a moment. Why did it look like a child's legs? It was indeed a child. A 7- or 8-year-old boy swaggered out. His pink and tender face was filled with anger. His pair of big eyes swept around, but it gave people a sense of majesty. Which one of you dares to destroy my courtyard? The boy asked angrily. Strange. I've been trapped in this courtyard for so many days, but I didn't notice that there was actually a living person in this house. Instead, it's a child. Tian Shanzi clicked his tongue in wonder. He seemed to be shocked by this scene. You're the child, the boy retorted disdainfully. Hee, you're so small. Aren't you a child? We're not blind. Tian Shanzi was not afraid of him at all, and said jokingly, you call me a child. Do you think I'm still a child now? As soon as he finished speaking, the child disappeared and was replaced by a middle-aged man. This was the transformation of a child in the blink of an eye. Tang Zhang stared at this middle-aged man, flabbergasted. Tian Shanzi also stared at him as if he had seen a ghost. This middle-aged man looked exactly like Tian Shanzi. It was as if they were cast from the same mold. There was no difference. You. Tian Shanzi turned pale with fright. However, he quickly calmed down and said, it's just an illusion. Is it an illusion? The middle-aged man spoke. His voice was exactly the same as Tian Shanzi's. If it's an illusion, have you ever seen such a realistic illusion? Then, he went straight to Tian Shanzi. Their eyes met. Tian Shanzi wanted to distinguish the difference between himself and the other party, but in the end, he found that it was futile. The other party was exactly the same as him, and he couldn't help but feel a little frightened. Illusions could indeed reach the level of being able to pass off as real, but Heaven Monk had never seen such a realistic illusion before. Furthermore, to be able to escape his fiery eyes crystal, this was definitely not an illusion. How did you do it? Tian Chanzi asked in a deep voice. The other party smiled and didn't answer. He said to himself, "You finally know that this is not an illusion." Then, he patted Tian Chanzi's cheek. "I don't remember how many years it has been since a guest came here. I'm really bored here alone. Now that I have you guys, my life will definitely be much more interesting in the future. You will become my dolls." Haha, I love dolls the most. Who are you? Tian Chanzi asked in horror. He gradually found that he couldn't understand the other party at all. What's my name? Let me think. I haven't been asked for my name for many years. I've almost forgotten it. The other party tilted his head and pondered. After a long time, he patted his head and said, "Haha, I remember now. I'm called the 100 Faces Star-Lord." Yes, that's the name. Fortunately, you asked me this question. Otherwise, I'm afraid that after tens of thousands of years, I would have forgotten this name. Tens of thousands of years? Everyone was shocked by his words. Inferring from this, he had actually lived for tens of thousands of years. What's the fuss about this? I've been here for who knows how many years, at least tens of thousands of years. The 100 Faces Star-Lord said indifferently. A few people were secretly speechless. If that was the case, then this person was from the ancient era. Those who could still survive in that era were definitely not nameless people. It was just that these people were ignorant and inexperienced and had never heard of his name. It seems that you guys definitely don't know my name. Anyway, this isn't the point. The point is that you guys will be my dolls in the future. Hee hee, with you guys accompanying me, it will definitely be very interesting. I can't wait to play. How do I play? I got it. The 100 Faces Star-Lord pondered for a while. Then, he walked in front of Tang Jing and looked at Li Xiaotian. He clapped his hands and said excitedly, "I remember that a long time ago, I played a game called Playing House. You two just happened to be playing house." After saying this, he waved his hand. Tang Jing and Li Xiaotian flew up from the ground and stood face to face. Li Xiaotian's face turned pale with fright. He cried out, "What are you doing? Tang Jing, hurry up and stop him. Save me." Tang Jing bitterly smiled. If only he had a way to stop him, then that would be great. He had already circulated the ancient clear heaven scroll countless times, and his true chi flowed through his body over and over again, wanting to break free from the imprisonment of the drawing ground prison, but he found that it was completely useless. Don't be noisy. This game is very interesting. The 100 Faces Star-Lord said unhappily. Li Xiaotian's voice immediately disappeared. She found that no matter how she opened her mouth to shout, there was no sound at all. But the two of you have to change your clothes. The groom and the bride must have their own clothes. This way, the celebration will be official. After the 100 Faces Star-Lord finished speaking, Tang Jing and Li Xiaotian's clothes changed. They became the clothes of the ancient groom and bride. Tang Jing even wore a tall hat on his head. This kind of costume could only be seen in ancient dramas. It was a bit funny, but the people involved couldn't laugh. Instead, they felt a deep fear. When a person's body was controlled by someone else, this fear came from the bottom of their heart and went deep into their bones. Looking at the flustered and pale Li Xiaotian, Tang Jing wasn't in the mood to gloat. Although Li Xiaotian's appearance was rarely seen in 100 years. I can't just go through the wedding ceremony with her like this, Tang Jing thought. Although he couldn't move his body, he wouldn't give up just like that. As such, he shouted, "Four Symbols Venerable, attack!" The Four Symbols Venerable charged toward the small courtyard. His huge body was several times taller than the courtyard, so his charge was extremely powerful. The small courtyard began to tremble. The 100 Faces Star-Lord raised his head and stared impatiently at the Four Symbols Venerable. For Symbols Venerable, what an annoying fellow! Scram to the side. Following his loud roar, a water screen appeared on the courtyard wall out of thin air. Boom! A loud sound rang out as circles of ripples appeared on the water screen. However, it wasn't damaged at all. The Four Symbols Venerable, on the other hand, was shaken and forced to take a small step back. I told you this big fellow wouldn't be able to ruin my plans. You two continue. First, bow to the heavens and earth. The 100 Faces Star-Lord shouted. Afterward, Tang Jing and Li Xiaotian bowed toward the distant sky. Second, bow to the elders. There aren't any elders. Their parents aren't here either. Forget it. This old man is the oldest. Let him be the elder. The 100 Faces Star Lord pointed out casually, and Tian Chanzi moved horizontally in front of the two. Then, the two bowed toward him. Tian Chanzi's expression was extremely interesting. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, "Tang Zheng, you brat, you've finally bowed to me. This little girl isn't bad. She's quite pretty. It's not a loss to be your wife, but it's a loss to my good disciple. Oh well, with me as your master in the future, my disciple will naturally be your wife. This little girl can just be a concubine." Li Xiaoyan's eyes seemed like they were about to spit fire. She glared at Tian Chanzi furiously. In her heart, she had long since cursed Tian Chanzi's 18 generations of ancestors. "You're the concubine. Your whole family are concubines." However, she couldn't say anything. She could only express her anger with her eyes. However, this didn't work on Tian Chanzi. She glared fiercely at Tang Zheng and thought to herself, "Tang Zheng, you heartless person, hurry up and think of something. Do you really want to cook the rice and truly bow to the heavens and earth?" Tang Zheng didn't have such thoughts. When he saw Li Xiaoyan's eyes that looked like she wanted to eat someone, he didn't have the heart to tease her. However, he really didn't have a good idea. He could only urge the 4 symbols venerables to attack the water screen over and over again. However, what shocked Tang Zheng was that the water screen's resistance to attacks was too strong. Under the powerful attacks of the 4 symbols venerables, the water screen only trembled continuously. It didn't collapse at all. After bowing to the elders, it's time for the husband and wife to bow to each other. Wow, this is so fun. The 4 symbols venerables excitedly clapped his hands. However, he was in Tian Chanzi's appearance. This childlike clapping seemed very awkward no matter how one looked at it. Li Xiaotian was on the verge of tears. She looked at Tang Zheng with a heart like dead ashes. She was the holy maiden of the Li Palace. The Li Palace had its rules. The holy maiden of the Li Palace was not allowed to marry, not even in a formal wedding. Thus, if she really did complete this set of etiquette with Tang Zheng, it would be equivalent to her betrayal of the Li Palace. Chapter 416. Li Xiaotian had lived in the Li Palace for as long as she could remember. Although she was very black-bellied, she still had a standard in her heart, and that was to never betray the Li Palace. The Li Palace was her home, her roots. The 100 Changes Star Sovereign's game was tantamount to uprooting her roots, so how could she not panic? Seeing the unprecedented panic and despair on her face, Tang Zheng glanced at the 4 symbols venerables out of the corner of his eye. Distant water could not put out a nearby fire. Suddenly, his gaze fell on Xiaobai, and an idea came to him. He shouted, "Xiaobai, breathe fire and burn him." Xiaobai was ready to take action. Hearing this order, it opened its small mouth and spat out a stream of flames. Boom! The flames soared into the sky and attacked the 100 Changes Star Sovereign. The 100 Changes Star Sovereign was originally dancing with joy and was extremely excited. Seeing the flames coming at him, he was truly frightened and hurriedly jumped away. The flames swept over his head and went straight for the house behind him. This house was completely made of green bamboo and would ignite upon contact with the flames. With a flash of fire, the house became a volcanic sea of fire. The 100 Changes Star Sovereign looked at his house in astonishment, then looked at the smug Xiaobai. Instantly, he was furious and roared, "You dare to burn my house? I will skin you and pull out your tendons." Squeak, squeak. Xiaobai was not afraid at all. He grinned at the 100 Changes Star Sovereign and barked twice. "I don't want to." Suddenly, the Thunder Cloud Beast spoke for no reason. Squeak, squeak. Xiaobai barked twice more. The Thunder Cloud Beast seemed to have given in. It said in an aggrieved tone, "Fine then. Humph, you only know how to bully me." As soon as he said that, the lightning mark on the Thundercloud Beast's forehead lit up. With a thunderous crack, the lightning leaped out from the Thundercloud Beast's forehead to attack Star Monarch Multiform. "You actually dare to attack me?" The 100 Transformations Star Sovereign dodged, and the lightning accurately struck the house. With a rumbling sound, The house completely fell apart, turning into ruins. Thundercloud Beast, aren't you supposed to be the guardian of Buzhou Mountain? How dare you team up with them? I'll take care of you first. Multiform's face turned green with anger as he glared at the beast with bulging eyes. The 100 transformations Star Sovereign transformed back into a child. Clearly, this was his original form. He waved his lotus root-like hands, causing a pillar of water to shoot up into the sky, aiming for the Thundercloud Beast. Roar! The Thundercloud Beast roared and fought back. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The small courtyard was immediately covered by lightning. 9 lightning balls floated around it. Each lightning ball emitted a bolt of lightning that interweaved into a large net, blocking the water column's attack. Petty tricks. I'll let you know how powerful I, 100 Change Starlord, am. The 100 transformations Star Sovereign gently pointed his finger. The water column suddenly transformed into a ferocious beast. It opened its bloody mouth and directly swallowed the Thundercloud Beast and the 9 lightning balls into its stomach. In an instant, the water column transformed into a ferocious beast. Its body flickered with dazzling lightning. Gigi! Suddenly, Xiaobai angrily cried out. Its eyes were scarlet red. With a swoosh, its entire body was covered in flames. Xiaobai opened its small mouth and cried out. However, its cry was not as loud as the Thundercloud Beast. It seemed that even if it used all its strength, it would not be able to make a loud cry. The 100 transformations Star Sovereign disdainfully said, "Little guy, I'll deal with you now." With that, the ferocious beast opened its bloody mouth and bit at Xiaobai. No! Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. He quickly shouted to stop it. However, he could not move at all. Even if he shouted until his throat was broken, it was useless. When the 100 transformations Star Sovereign saw their panicked looks, she giggled and danced with joy. Haha, this is what happens when you don't play games with me. However, with you dolls accompanying me in the future, it seems that these days are not bad. Xiaobai was also swallowed by the ferocious beast. Tang Zheng's face became incomparably pale. He and Xiaobai had been together for so many days. Their relationship had always been good. He couldn't accept the fact that Little White was gone just like that. 100 transformations Star Sovereign. I'll kill you. Tang Zheng went crazy. The true qi in his body boiled. His body emitted hot steam. His skin became incomparably red. Even his eyes were red. Hee, you dolls are angry. Good. I love to see others angry. I'm the happiest when others are angry. The 100 transformations Star Sovereign clapped her hands and shouted excitedly. You dare to kill my Xiaobai? I want you dead. An angry roar came out from Tang Zheng's throat. The air around Tang Zheng also started to ripple, and circles of ripples quickly spread outwards. Seeing him like this, Li Xiaotian turned pale with fright and shouted, Tang Zheng, what happened to you? However, Tang Zheng acted as if he did not hear it at all. His skin became redder and redder, and the steam rising from his body became more and more intense. Yi Yuan shouted, Lord Envoy, woo-woo. Tian Chanzi also shouted, but he was sealed by the 100 transformations Star Sovereign and could not speak. He could only anxiously look at Tang Zheng, wanting to stop him, but had no way to do so. However, the bottom of his heart was like an ant on a hot pan. He anxiously thought, this is bad. This brat has already activated all of the pure young energy in his body. His body will explode, and he will die. Tang Zheng had indeed detonated the pure yang energy in his body. The pure yang energy had fused with the innate qi, causing the innate qi in his body to reach an unprecedented level. He was like a balloon. There was too much air in the balloon, and it was extremely likely that it would explode immediately, causing him to be finished. But Tang Zheng could not care less. All of them were under control, and Xiaobai had been swallowed by the ferocious beast that the other party had created. Therefore, he had completely lost the wolf. His anger quickly ignited, and he took the initiative to detonate the pure yang energy. Boom! A loud sound came out from Tang Zheng's body. His body quickly lit up with a red light, and then his hands actually recovered their movement. With a wave of his hands, the War Soul Sword appeared in his hands, and he held the sword with both hands, causing the aura of heaven and earth to rapidly change. The War Soul Sword flashed with a black light. This light was extremely sharp, causing people to involuntarily feel fear in their hearts. Li Xiaoyan's face was pale white. She looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. She had already forgotten to speak. She was unable to describe how she felt towards Tang Zheng at this moment. He was like a towering mountain, making her feel very small. This was a feeling she had never felt before. At this moment, she felt an instinctive fear towards Tang Zheng, a fear that came from her soul. Tian Chanzi's eyes lit up and exclaimed in his heart, "Good boy, the pure yang energy has completely exploded, and he has actually comprehended the fourth move of the heaven-flying immortal, heaven falls and earth rends. Kill." Tang Zheng roared, and the War Soul Sword slashed down. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out, dust flew everywhere, and the courtyard immediately turned into ruins. The ground beneath his feet immediately cracked, and a bottomless crack appeared. The water curtain outside the courtyard also collapsed, and the ferocious beast that the water pillar had transformed into also exploded into droplets of water with a loud cracking sound. Two small figures jumped out from the water droplets. Zhizhi! Roar! Xiaobai and the thunder cloud beast did not die, and both sides used their own voices to express their anger. "I can move now." Suddenly, Li Xiaotian cried out in surprise, followed by Yi Yuan's cheers. Without a doubt, Tang Zheng's move, Heaven Falls and Earth Rends, had directly destroyed the array formation of the drawing ground prison, and everyone had escaped. Amidst the smoke and dust, Heaven Monk regained his freedom, but he did not act rashly. Instead, he looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated gaze. He did not expect that after Tang Zheng detonated the pure yang energy, he would be able to temporarily escape the imprisonment of the drawing ground prison. His hands regained the ability to move, and then he activated the fourth move of the Heaven Flying Immortal, allowing everyone to escape. The Heaven Collapsing Earth-Shattering move could destroy the array formation, but the Heaven Monk was not surprised, because although the array formation was powerful, it could only trap the enemy when they were not paying attention, and the defensive power of the array formation was not strong. Tian Chanzi was surprised that Tang Zheng could actually escape after being imprisoned by the drawing ground prison. This was out of his expectations. To break through the drawing ground prison, one's strength had to be much higher than the controller of the array. However, it was clear that Tang Zheng's cultivation was worlds apart from the 100 transformation Star Lords. Yet he was able to do this. Tian Chanzi did not even need to think to guess that this was definitely the effect of his 9-young holy body, which was also the mystery of the 5-clawed golden dragon Skywalker. No wonder the 5-clawed golden dragon was so afraid of Tang Zheng's identity as a Skywalker. This brat truly has a lot of things that go beyond common sense. He is simply a miracle maker. Tian Chanzi sighed in his heart. My soul survived for 1,000 years before I met him. In the past, I always thought that meeting him was this brat's fortune. Now that I think about it carefully, meeting him was actually a huge opportunity for me. Although I was not a nameless person in the cultivation world, I was still far from those almighty figures. After meeting this brat, perhaps my opportunity has truly changed. In the future, I might even become one of those almighty figures that I yearn for. No one knew about Tian Chanzi's complicated thoughts at this moment. They were all looking at Tang Zheng. He had become the center of attention, and Tang Zheng was still holding his sword with both hands as he stared at the dust cloud. Cough, cough. Suddenly, a coughing sound came from the dust cloud. The 100 transformations Star Lord's voice rang out again. However, this time, the young voice was mixed with gloominess and anger. You actually broke my drawing ground prison and ruined my game. I will chop you into pieces and bury you in this Buzhou mountain, so that you will never be reincarnated. The dust cloud dissipated, and the scene in front of them became clear. They saw that the place where the War Soul Sword had slashed had turned into a large pit, and the one standing at the bottom of the pit was the 100 transformations Star Lord. His clothes were tattered, and his pink little face was purple and green. He was in a very sorry state. Moreover, his eyes were burning with raging anger. The 100 transformations Star Lord flew up. Without any movement, he lightly stood on the ground and floated in the air. The atmosphere between heaven and earth changed in an instant. Chapter 417. Seeing the 100 transformations Star Sovereign in such a sorry state, the aura he emitted caused everyone to be shocked, not daring to underestimate him in the slightest. Your sword technique is not bad, but if you want to kill me, you are still too lacking. The 100 transformations Star Sovereign gritted his teeth and said, since you do not want to be my puppets, then there is no need for you to exist in this world. You want to kill us? Now that we have regained our freedom, let's see if you have the ability to kill us. Tian Chanzi stood proudly with a long sword in his hand. Tang Zheng temporarily reverted to his wolf form and stared at the long sword in Tian Chanzi's hand. His eyes lit up as he said, Tian Chanzi, you actually changed your weapon? Tian Chanzi proudly said, of course, this is a heaven-grade treasure I found in the tomb. It is many times better than the Ghost General's Ghost Headblade. Brat, your pure yang energy has completely erupted. Quickly suppress it, otherwise you will explode and die. Tang Zheng helplessly smiled bitterly and said, my pure yang energy has completely erupted. I have no way to suppress it. Tian Chanzi's expression slightly changed as he sighed and said, then let's first deal with this 100 transformations Star Sovereign and then think of a way. Li Xiaotian looked at the two blankly. He really did not understand what was going on with the pure yang energy. Tang Zheng looked so powerful now, but why did it sound like he was in great danger? Stop talking nonsense, kill. The 100 transformations Star Sovereign swooped down from the sky. With a wave of his hand, the sky was suddenly filled with raindrops. The raindrops fell rapidly, like thousands of rain swords, rapidly falling. Killing intent filled the entire space. Roar! Tang Zheng shouted and rose from the ground. The War Soul sword pierced straight into the sky, stirring up the rain of swords. However, Tian Chanzi also rose into the air. His long sword pierced into the sky silently, as if there was no power behind it. Despite that, the rain of swords in the sky stopped in an instant as if a body immobilization spell was cast on them, causing them to stop steadily in midair. Li Xiaotian was flabbergasted as she watched the battle unfold. Ever since she started practicing martial arts, she had never seen a battle of this level. The majestic aura and killing intent caused her heart to tremble. All sorts of feelings welled up in her heart as she looked at Tang Zheng, increasingly feeling the gap between them. This Buzhou mountain is connected to the sky beyond heaven. When I return, I must convince the palace master to ally with the martial sect and stop the cultivators' plan. Because cultivators are really too powerful. Yi Yuan's expression was very excited. Obviously, the more powerful Tang Zheng was, the more honor he would feel. In midair, Tang Jing and Tian Chanzi joined forces. Both of them were using the sword art of flying immortals from beyond the sky, but Tian Chanzi was clearly superior. With a series of explosions, the rain of swords that filled the sky turned into nothingness. However, the 100 transformations Star-Lord's methods were not limited to this. With a flash of water, a gigantic water monster suddenly appeared in the sky. This water monster had many tentacles that quickly slapped towards the two of them. Boom! Boom! With two loud sounds, Tang Zheng was caught off guard and was slapped to the ground. Tian Chanzi relied on the sword in his hand to block the attack. Seeing that, the 100 transformations Star-Lord chuckled. I already said that you guys overestimate yourselves. If you want to go against me, dream on. With that said, the tentacles of the water monster attacked once again. Countless tentacles of various sizes swarmed over. Tang Zheng, hurry up and retreat. Your power is still weak. You are not their match. Tian Chanzi had already seen that Tang Zheng had taken a blow just now, causing his blood to surge up and blood to flow out from the corner of his mouth, so he hurriedly reminded him. I can't retreat. Tang Zheng stepped forward with his sword and slashed out, cutting off several tentacles. However, he was still hit by a few tentacles and was sent flying far away. Tian Chanzi's expression suddenly changed and he shouted, Eat my sword. Holding the sword with both hands, he slashed out. In an instant, the sword in Tian Chanzi's hand shone brightly and transformed into a gigantic sword. Boom! The gigantic sword slashed the water monster's body, and many of the tentacles disintegrated and broke apart. Then, Tian Chanzi's figure flashed and immediately stood beside Tang Zheng. He asked with concern, "How are you?" "I won't die. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord is too powerful. We are no match for him. Let's retreat first," Tang Zheng said. "There is no way to retreat now. Besides, although Mount Buzhou is the passage to Sky Beyond, we don't know how to get there. Maybe we can only find out if we capture the 100 Transformation Star-Lord. Mount Buzhou has disappeared for countless years, and the 100 Transformations Star-Lord lived here. I'm afraid it has something to do with it, so we can't retreat." Tian Chanzi gritted his teeth and said firmly, "Well, Tian Chanzi, then I'll play a big game with you this time. Isn't it just exploding and dying? Let's have a good fight first." Tang Zheng said fearlessly. He had already felt the pure yang force in his body running amok. He could explode and die at any time, but at this juncture, he couldn't care less. "Tian Chanzi, watch me. I'll use the 4 symbols venerable to fight with him." Tang Zheng rose from the ground and rushed into the body of the 4 symbols venerable. Tian Chanzi's eyes lit up and he muttered to himself, "Boy, you're really something. You even took the 4 symbols venerable for your own use. Then I'll also fight with the 100 Transformations Star-Lord with my old life. It's just that I can't see his specific cultivation. It's really troublesome." Tian Chanzi and Tang Zheng couldn't see through the 100 Transformations Star-Lord's cultivation, which showed that the strength of the 100 Transformations Star-Lord was very terrifying. It should be known that since Tian Chanzi entered the 100,000 Mountains, his cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds due to the abundant spiritual qi. He had recovered to the 9th level of the Gold Core Realm, which was equivalent to the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. This showed that the 100 Transformations Star-Lord was at least a master of the Yuanying stage. When the 100 Transformations Star-Lord saw Tang Zheng get into the body of the 4 symbols venerable, he said in surprise, "I didn't expect you to really subdue the 4 symbols venerable." Back then, the 4 symbols venerable followed Chiyu to fight all over the world. How glorious was that? I didn't expect it to fall into your hands. You're so weak that you don't deserve to have the 4 symbols venerable. The 4 symbols venerable has no thoughts, so he can be my puppet and companion. You want to snatch the 4 symbols venerable? Dream on. Tang Zheng shouted and controlled the 4 symbols venerable to attack. He directly punched the water monster in the sky. The water monster trembled violently and turned into raindrops all over the sky. It was completely destroyed. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord saw this, and his face turned ugly. He said, "Your strength is indeed impressive. However, compared to the strength of the 4 symbols venerable, this is simply child's play. Since it's child's play, I'm not interested in playing with you." The 100 Transformations Star-Lord's body flashed and a phantom suddenly appeared around him. However, everyone immediately realized that this was not a phantom, but a real person. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord turned from 1 to 2, and from 2 to 4. Soon, the sky was filled with 100 Transformations Star-Lord. Every one of them looked exactly the same. Tian Chanzi's face changed slightly. He said, "These are not phantoms, but real doppelgangers." "Haha, of course. This is my 1000 doppelganger technique. Can the 2 of you fight against so many doppelgangers of mine? Let me tell you, I'm not called the 100 Transformations Star-Lord for nothing." The 100 Transformations Star-Lord said proudly. Everyone suddenly realized that the so-called 100 Transformations Star-Lord was not completely transforming into someone else's appearance. Instead, it was because he had countless doppelgangers. Fighting against him was equivalent to fighting against a large army. The difficulty level of the battle increased exponentially. "So what if you have doppelgangers? I'll still beat you up," Tang Zheng shouted fearlessly. He waved his fist and punched the doppelgangers. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions rang out. Many doppelgangers were shattered, but new doppelgangers were formed. Therefore, Tang Zheng's attacks were all in vain. Tian Chanzi's expression changed when he saw this scene. How could he attack like this? However, even if his attacks were ineffective, he had to continue attacking. Therefore, Tian Chanzi used the Flying Immortals Beyond Heaven sword technique without hesitation. This time, his treasured sword turned from 1 to 2, and from 2 to 4. In an instant, there were tens of thousands of them. They were endless. These swords pierced towards the doppelgangers. The doppelgangers immediately blocked. They formed a water shield in front of them. Some of these shields were shattered by the swords. The doppelgangers behind them were pierced and exploded. However, some of them were lucky enough to escape. However, new doppelgangers immediately replaced them. Therefore, Tian Chanzi's attacks were still in vain. However, Tian Chanzi was not discouraged. This was because he discovered a pattern. The doppelgangers that were pierced were the furthest from the center. Only the doppelgangers in the center of the army were lucky enough to survive. Tang Zheng attacked the center. That's his main body. Only by attacking his main body can the doppelgangers be defeated. Tian Chanzi reminded, "Okay, let's attack together. Xiaobai, Thundercloud Beast, you guys attack together." Tang Zheng gave the order and took the lead to charge out. Xiaobai and Thundercloud Beast followed like shadows. They directly jumped onto the body of the four-symbol Star Lord and attacked the doppelgangers from above. Pacha, lightning intertwined and flashed. Boom. Flames filled the sky and flickered. The four-symbol Star Lord clenched his fists and smashed down from above. The air in the sky was rapidly split to two sides. A formless and terrifying force smashed towards the center of the doppelgangers. Sixth move of Transcendent Flying Immortals. One Sword Immortal. Tian Chanzi shouted and used the most powerful move of the Transcendent Flying Immortal sword art. At this moment, the radiance of the long sword was completely withdrawn. It appeared simple and unadorned. It was a plain stab without any fancy moves. It seemed to be weak and had no aura at all. It made people doubt the power of the sword. However, no one noticed a well-hidden 100 transformations. Star-Lord's expression suddenly changed. This was the true body of the 100 transformations Star-Lord. He thought to himself, this sword technique is really strange. It's already returned to its original state. The power is completely compressed in this sword, and not a single bit of it is exposed. Moreover, the power of this punch that the brat controlled the four divine symbols to attack is also extraordinary. I've really underestimated them. I've been trapped in Mount Buzhou for so many years, but these later generations are actually so outstanding. The others did not know what the 100 transformations Star-Lord was thinking. They only had one thought, and that was to defeat the 100 transformations Star-Lord. Therefore, they used all their skills. Tang Zheng's body was already emitting bursts of explosive sounds. His body was already on the verge of collapse, but he still gritted his teeth and made sure that this punch was his strongest attack. Chapter 418. Sword, Fist, Fire, Lightning. The four attacks combined into one. The heaven and earth changed color, and the powerful aura caused Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan to involuntarily retreat out of the courtyard. The two of them looked up at the sky at the same time, only to see a dazzling light explode in an instant. The two of them couldn't help but close their eyes. Immediately after, their eardrums seemed to have been shattered. Their ears were filled with a dazzling sound, and they could no longer hear anything clearly. After a while, the two of them opened their eyes again. They raised their heads and saw that the resplendent light in the sky had disappeared and was replaced by a blue sky. The tens of thousands of clones of the 100 transformations Star-Lord had also disappeared, leaving behind only his original body. However, at this moment, he was in an even more sorry state. His body and the corners of his mouth were covered in blood, and his face was deathly pale. Half of the four symbols' venerable's body had sunk into the ground, and the thundercloud beast was lying on the four symbols' venerable's shoulder, motionless. It was unknown if it was dead or alive, while Xiaobai was lying at the side with his head drooped. Tian Chanzi's long hair fluttered in the wind, but the clothes on his body had also become tattered, and the hand holding the sword was trembling slightly. However, his eyes were fixed on the 100 transformations Star-Lord. The 100 transformations Star-Lord also raised his head and stared at him. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, I really didn't expect that you guys would have such a powerful force when working together. It's really not easy to kill you guys. Tian Chanzi's heartstrings trembled. He also felt a sense of powerlessness. His side had such a powerful attack, yet he was still unable to completely defeat the 100 Transformation Star Lord. Just how powerful was he? However, at least from the looks of it, his side had the power to protect themselves after all, so the danger was temporarily lifted. 100 Transformation Star Lord, we don't want to be enemies with you. As long as you tell us how to reach the sky beyond heaven from the Buzhou Mountain, or bring the people of the sky beyond heaven from the Buzhou Mountain to this world, then we can turn hostility into friendship. Tian Chanzi said in a deep voice. The 100 Transformation Star Lord's expression turned cold as he asked in astonishment. You want to go to the sky beyond heaven? Exactly. Haha. The sky beyond sky is a mysterious place that has yet to be explored. What are you going to do there? 100 Transformation Star-Lord asked. In fact, Tian Chanzi didn't know what kind of place the outer sky was. 1,000 years ago, he had only heard of this name, and it was almost erased from the depths of his memory. Later, when he heard about the outer sky from the mouth of the five-clawed golden dragon, he suddenly realized that all the cultivators in this world had been expelled to the outer sky. As for Mount Buzhou, it had disappeared many years ago. Many people thought that Mount Buzhou was just a legend, which was why Tian Chanzi did not immediately think of using Mount Buzhou to let the practitioners return. At this moment, he was sure that he was standing on Mount Buzhou, so he naturally wanted to let the cultivators return to this world. Seeing that the 100 Transformation Star Lord seemed to know a lot about Mount Buzhou, Tian Chanzi was moved and said, I naturally have a reason to go to the sky beyond sky, but I want to ask you, what kind of place is the sky beyond sky? The sky beyond sky is very dangerous, but also very mysterious. In ancient times, many people were sent to explore the sky beyond sky, but most of them never returned. They only brought back bits and pieces of clues, which were not very useful at all. The 100 Transformation Star Lord frowned, as if he was deeply immersed in his memories. Unknowingly, the 100 Transformation Star Lord's face became ferocious as he said sternly, The sky beyond sky is a dangerous place. It shouldn't exist in this world, but so many people still want to explore it, thinking that there are huge treasures that are of great value to the cultivators. Humph, how laughable. After paying a heavy price countless times, these people still don't give up. They are a bunch of idiots. No one expected that the 100 Transformation Star Lord would hate the sky beyond sky so much and was very surprised. Tian Chanzi said, Since you said that the sky beyond sky is so dangerous, does that mean that the cultivators who were expelled to the sky beyond sky are also very dangerous? What expulsion? The 100 Transformation Star Lord was confused and looked at Tian Chanzi blankly. Did someone go to the sky beyond sky again? Yes, hundreds of years ago. All the cultivators in this world were expelled to the sky beyond sky. We are only the lucky survivors. Tian Chanzi said regretfully. The 100 Transformation Star Lord heard this and his eyes suddenly widened. He shook his head and said firmly, Impossible. I have clearly destroyed the stairway to heaven of Buzhou Mountain. How can anyone go to the sky beyond sky? Tian Chanzi frowned and said, What do you mean? I have already destroyed the stairway to heaven of Buzhou Mountain to the sky beyond sky. It is impossible for anyone to go to the sky beyond sky. The 100 Transformations Star Lord repeated. When Tian Chanzi heard this, his expression changed, and he cried out in panic. Why did you do this? Why did you destroy the stairway to heaven? Why are you so crazy? Buzhou Mountain was the only way for Tian Chanzi to go to the sky beyond sky, but the 100 Transformation Star Lord had told him that this way was not going to work. All of his hopes were gone, so how could Tian Chanzi not break down? Ha ha, I am crazy. What a joke. I'm doing this for everyone's sake. What's the point of wasting so many people's lives just to explore this danger zone? That's just courting death, so I might as well destroy the stairway and cut off those people's thoughts. That way, there won't be so many innocent people dying. 100 Transformations Star-Lord firmly said. At this moment, his aura was completely different from before. He was full of righteousness and selflessness. Everyone looked at him strangely, not knowing why these two completely different auras appeared in him. However, this was not the main point of Tian Chanzi's attention. He was puzzled and asked, "What do you mean by suicide? Where is the sky beyond sky?" "Ha ha ha, you want to go to the sky beyond sky, but you have no idea where the sky beyond sky is. What a joke. Fine, I haven't talked so much with anyone in many years. I will be merciful and tell you where the sky beyond sky is." After pausing for a moment, 100 Change Star King went on to say, "Outer sky is a place that was discovered by chance countless years ago. Outer sky is a desolate place, but it hides many unknown dangers. After countless explorations, we have learned that there are very powerful beings in outer sky. These beings are very mysterious, and they are very powerful. Every time we search, we only get a little clue, and we have to pay a heavy price." After that, he stopped and looked like he was in pain. "My parents sacrificed themselves while exploring the sky beyond sky. They left me alone in this world, so I have to destroy the sky beyond sky. I have to destroy the source of this disaster." Everyone was enlightened. No wonder the 100 Transformations Star-Lord hated the sky beyond sky so much. It turned out that his parents had sacrificed themselves in the sky beyond sky, making him an orphan. In that case, the 100 Transformations Star-Lord's life experience was actually quite miserable. No wonder his temper was so bad. Perhaps it was closely related to his experience growing up. Tian Chanzi was not in the mood to pay attention to the 100 Transformations Star-Lord's experience. His focus was on the sky beyond sky. It turned out that there were so many unknown secrets in the sky beyond sky. Since there was such a terrifying existence in the sky beyond sky, wouldn't the expelled cultivators fall from heaven to hell when they went to the sky beyond sky? Wouldn't that be very bad? One should know that in ancient times, there were many supreme experts. If even these experts were so afraid of the realm beyond heaven, then it was simply too terrifying for those expelled cultivators. After all, those expelled cultivators were the remnants of the forces that survived the great war between the righteous path and the demon race 500 years ago. Their strength was not as strong as before. Entering the realm beyond heaven was like putting fish on a chopping board. Tian Chanzi no longer cared about continuing to think about it, and even more so, did not dare to think about what kind of predicament his sect would encounter. His face was flushed red, and his breathing involuntarily became hurried. The atmosphere became heavy. Everyone was shocked by the truth of the sky beyond sky. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord restrained the pain on his face, looked at Tian Chanzi, and asked, "You just said that a few hundred years ago, the cultivators were expelled to the sky beyond sky. How is that possible? Didn't I already destroy the heaven stairway?" Tian Chanzi indignantly told him about how New Era used a scheme, and then used a formation to expel the cultivators to the sky beyond sky. After the 100 Transformations Star-Lord finished listening, he was in disbelief. How can there be a formation that can reach the sky beyond sky? I have never heard of it back then. What's so strange about that? It must have been after you destroyed the heaven stairway, and then other people thought of ways to reach the sky beyond sky. There are always many ways to achieve your goal in this world, and reaching the sky beyond sky is no exception. Tian Chanzi said without any surprise. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord was silent for a long time before he said, "So it turns out that I have been imprisoned here for so many years, and I have not completely cut off the connection between this world and the sky beyond sky. Why have I done so much? Why is it all useless? Why can't others understand my good intentions? Why? The 100 Transformations Star-Lord shouted towards the sky over and over again, as if he was questioning the heavens. Looking at his crazed appearance, the others seemed to be able to feel his despair and grief. A person's painstaking efforts were ultimately proven to be a failure. It was nothing more than a joke. This was not a small blow to anyone. However, everyone finally understood that the 100 Transformations Star-Lord was imprisoned here. This was probably his punishment for destroying the heaven stairway back then. Everyone could not help but feel sad for him. Such a powerful person was imprisoned here because of this matter. Perhaps his starting point was not bad. Just like he said, he wanted to prevent more people from paying the price of their lives. This kind of spirit could not help but make people respect him, and the way they looked at him also changed. Heaven Monk looked at his crazy appearance, but still did not give up and asked, "Is there no other way to reach the sky beyond heaven?" The 100 Star Lord ignored him. He was still immersed in his own emotions, questioning the heavens over and over again. Suddenly, he stopped questioning. A terrifying cold light erupted from his eyes as he roared hysterically, "Since all of this is useless, I won't keep my promise from back then. I'm willing to be imprisoned in this damned place. I want to get out, Arg." Chapter 419. This cry was very loud and melodious. It spread far and wide, as if it was going to reach the ninth heaven and let the heavens hear it. Seeing him like this, everyone was scared witless. If that was the case, he would not continue to be trapped here. If he went to the outside world, with his cultivation, no one would be able to stop him. Who knew what kind of storm he would set off? When Li Xiaotian thought of this, her face could not help but become more and more unsightly. She had an impulse to run away and go back to announce this terrifying news to everyone. Tian Chanzi immediately said, "Welcome to the outside world. This world has changed a lot, and the strength of the cultivators is getting weaker and weaker. There should be a strong cultivator to show the world the power of the cultivators." Humph. Back then, there was no difference between a cultivator and a martial artist. I don't know how this difference came about, and I don't care about the dispute between a martial artist and a cultivator. I only care about what I have yet to accomplish, and that is to make this world completely lose contact with the sky beyond heaven. The 100 Transformations Star Lord did not give the Heaven Monk any face and directly said. Tian Chanzi's face changed slightly and asked, "You are also a cultivator. How can you not care about the fate of the cultivators?" 100 Faces Star Sovereign heard this and laughed. "Ha ha ha, why should I care? In the past, I destroyed the heavens for them, but they did not appreciate it. Instead, they treated me as an enemy and imprisoned me here. Tell me, how can I care about them?" Tian Chanzi was speechless. After a long while, he did not give up and persuaded. Most of the people in this world are ordinary people, and there are only a few cultivators. Don't you feel lonely and bored? Hee hee. I have stayed in this damned place for countless years. No one accompanied me, but I still came here. I don't think so. Tian Chanzi's fiery golden eyes still found a flaw. If you were not lonely, would you be so eager to have a doll to accompany you? As soon as these words were spoken, the 100 Star Sovereign's expression changed abruptly. Obviously, these words had struck a chord in his heart. Seeing that, Heaven Monk was overjoyed. He struck while the iron was hot and said, "If you save the other cultivators from the sky beyond heaven, everyone will understand your good intentions after escaping from the sea of bitterness. This way, won't someone understand the efforts you put in all those years ago? This is a good thing for you." The 100 Star Sovereign's expression changed slightly. Clearly, this set of words had moved him again. 100 Star Sovereign, I know you must have a way. Think about it. What other ways do we have to bring the cultivators back from sky beyond, or even reach sky beyond? Tian Chanzi asked, tentatively. The 100 Transformations Star Sovereign was silent. Everyone stared at him, waiting for his answer. After a long time, the 100 Star Sovereign finally spoke. "Of course there is a way. As long as we rebuild the stairway to heaven, we will be able to connect to the outer sky." Tian Chanzi was overjoyed. He couldn't wait to ask, "Then how do we rebuild the stairway to heaven?" "When I destroyed the stairway to heaven, it turned into cornerstones and scattered in every corner of the world. As long as we can find these cornerstones, we can rebuild the stairway to heaven." The 100 Star Sovereign said solemnly. "Really? It's that simple?" Tian Chanzi couldn't believe it. "Haha, it's simple. The ignorant are fearless. Back then, many people wanted to find these cornerstones, but they all returned without success. If it was so easy to find, the stairway to heaven would have been rebuilt long ago." The 100 Star Sovereign said jokingly, "No matter how difficult it is, I must find these cornerstones and rebuild the stairway to heaven. Moreover, this matter should not be delayed. If we delay it for one more day, the cultivators in sky beyond heaven will suffer for one more day. It will be more dangerous. Tian Chanzi said firmly. What does this have to do with me? The 100-change star sovereign said. 100-change star sovereign, I ask for your help. As long as you help me, I will agree to any request you have. Tian Chanzi gritted his teeth and said, Haha, what do you think you can give me? The 100-change star sovereign asked disdainfully, What do you want? Your life. Tian Chanzi's expression suddenly changed. He said, What do you want my life for? The 100-change star sovereign curled his lips and said, That's right. Your life is useless to me. However, I need a servant. Are you willing? Tian Chanzi's expression changed slightly. He was still a proud person. How could he accept being someone else's servant? No. A voice came from the body of the four symbols venerable. Tang Zheng jumped out. His face was flushed and he was panting. It was obvious that he was not having a good time. However, he still said firmly, 100-change star sovereign, stop daydreaming. No one will be your servant. Tian Chanzi gritted his teeth and his expression changed. Brat, I know what I am doing. Tang Zheng did not relent. He said, Tian Chanzi, if you really agree to be his servant, then you are no longer the Tian Chanzi I knew. Tian Chanzi's expression changed slightly. He said, 100-change star sovereign, can you change your condition? Haha, I have already given you my condition. Since you are not sincere, then pretend that I did not say anything. The 100-change star sovereign was unmoved. Isn't it just finding the cornerstones of the stairway to heaven? How many are there? What do they look like? We can just find them. Tang Zheng said. Haha, another ignorant junior. Then I will tell you. The cornerstones are heaven and earth celestial stones. There are a total of 99 pieces. These 99 pieces form the 99 steps of the stairway to heaven. When the stairway to heaven was destroyed, these 99 cornerstones turned into light and scattered all over the divine continent. No one knows where they are. 99 cornerstones? Tang Zheng's expression changed slightly. With so many cornerstones scattered all over the divine continent, and after so many years, it would be difficult to find them. It would be a huge project. Haha, now you know how difficult it is. If you agree to my condition, I can go and find them myself. After all, I am the one who destroyed the stairway to heaven. I know the cornerstones the best, and it will be easy for me to find them. The 100-change star sovereign said confidently, even without you, I can still find them. Tang Zheng did not compromise. This 100-transformation Star Lord had done a good deed back then, but his temperament was constantly changing. Tang Zheng was truly unable to grasp him, and could not tell whether he was a good person or a bad person. It was better to be more vigilant when interacting with this kind of person. Tian Chanzi sighed and said, Brat, you are so confident, but it is easier said than done to find those cornerstones. Then go and be his servant. From now on, we are strangers. Tang Zheng said resolutely. Tian Chanzi was speechless. Actually, he cared a lot about his image in Tang Zheng's eyes, so even if he could endure humiliation in order to reach the sky beyond heaven, he did not dare to harm his image in Tang Zheng's eyes. The 100-change star sovereign looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression and said, Strange. So your position in this group of people is not simple. You can actually influence the decisions of others. Who are you? I'm just an ordinary person. You don't have to worry about that. Hee hee. Ordinary people? I don't think so. That big guy is from the witch clan, right? The 100-change star sovereign suddenly pointed at Yi Yuan and said, You know about the witch clan too? Tang Zheng was slightly shocked. This person was able to tell Yi Yuan's background with a single glance. He was truly extraordinary. Of course, back then, I had quite a bit of contact with the witch clan. The witch clan is a branch of the Ninely race, born with divine strength, and is a rare warrior. However, I seem to have heard you call him Lord Envoy earlier. Why have I never heard of any Lord Envoy in the witch clan? The 100-change star sovereign frowned. That's because you're ignorant. Tang Zheng curled his lips and said in ridicule, You dare to say that I'm ignorant? I, the 100-change star sovereign, do not dare to say that I know the heavens and the earth, but I know most of the things in this world. How dare you say that I'm ignorant? These words hit the sensitive spot of the 100 star sovereign, and he could not help but fly into a rage. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up and said, "Since you claim to be knowledgeable, then let me ask you a question. Why is the witch clan imprisoned in the 10,000 huge mountains?" "The witch clan is imprisoned? What a joke. How is that possible? The witch clan is Qi Yu's subordinate. Qi Yu is extraordinarily valiant. Who would dare to imprison his subordinate?" The 100 star sovereign scoffed. Tang Zheng was extremely surprised and asked, "Don't you know about the Battle of Zhuolu?" "What Battle of Zhuolu?" The 100 star sovereign was at a loss. Tang Zheng sighed inwardly. It seemed that the 100 star sovereign had been imprisoned in the Buzhou Mountain before the Battle of Zhuolu, which was why he did not know about this world-famous battle. The Battle of Zhuolu was a battle between Qi Yu and the Yellow Emperor. Qi Yu was defeated and died. The Ninely race collapsed, and the witch clan was mysteriously imprisoned in the 10,000 huge mountains. Furthermore, the primordial heavenly tomb outside the Buzhou Mountain is the battlefield ruins of the Battle of Zhuelu. Who knows how many experts were buried there? Tang Jing explained roughly. The 100 star sovereign's face immediately turned pale. His body swayed, and he said with a trembling voice, "You're saying that there was a great battle back then and many people died? And they were buried not far from the Buzhou Mountain?" "Yes, I didn't expect that you would not know about the changes in the outside world after being imprisoned in the Buzhou Mountain for so many years. Therefore, I asked you this question in vain." Tang Zheng sighed. One of his goals in coming to the prehistoric heavenly tomb was to find the truth behind the imprisonment of the witch clan. It seemed like there was no hope. "Who says I don't know? There is only one kind of person in this world who can imprison the witch clan." The 100 star sovereign retorted. "Who?" "Skywalker." "What? Skywalker?" Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi's expressions changed at the same time as they asked in unison, "Haha, looks like you guys also know about the Skywalker. Strange. This is a huge secret. Back then, not many people knew about it, but the two of you actually knew about it with such low cultivations." The 100 star sovereign said curiously. Tang Jing and Tian Chanzi looked at each other. They had heard about the Skywalker from the five-clawed golden dragon. Tang Zheng was the Skywalker, and only the Skywalker could be the emissary of the witch clan. But why would the Skywalker imprison the witch clan? Q. Chapter 420. Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi could not understand why the Skywalker would imprison the witch clan, and could not help but fall into silence. Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian were also not clear about the matter of the Skywalker, so they were confused. Seeing that the two of them were silent, the 100 Transformations Star-Lord continued. Back then, the only Skywalker was Qi Yu, so the witch clan must have been imprisoned by Qi Yu. "What? Qi Yu? He's a Skywalker?" Tang Zheng's expression changed as he exclaimed loudly. This was the second Skywalker he had heard of. Tian Chanzi could not help but look at Tang Zheng. Qi Yu was an existence that was close to a god in the ancient era, but he was actually a Skywalker. Could it be that Tang Zheng, a Skywalker, could also reach that level in the future? Tian Chanzi could not help but be fascinated. However, Tang Zheng's emotions were even more complicated. The identity of a Skywalker was closely related to him, and he had always wanted to understand what was so special about this identity. But now, he actually heard that the supreme expert from the ancient times was also a Skywalker. How could he not have mixed feelings? Tang Zheng slightly restrained his emotions and said, "Impossible. Didn't Qi Yu die in the Battle of Zhuolu? How can he imprison the witch clan?" The witch clan was obviously imprisoned after the Battle of Zhuolu. At that time, Qi Yu should have already died. Humph. How could it be that easy to kill Qi Yu? Even if he only has one breath left, he can still do many things, such as imprison the witch clan. As for why he did this, I am not sure. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord frowned, obviously unable to understand Qi Yu's actions. Tang Jing and Yi Yuan looked at each other. Both of them knew that the witch clan was a branch of the Ninely race, and back then, they had followed Qi Yu to the north and south, and could be considered as Qi Yu's loyal troops. Why would Qi Yu imprison the witch clan before? Although I don't know why Qi Yu did this, there must be a deep meaning behind his actions. You will definitely understand in the future. However, Chiyu probably never thought that his own witch clan would treat you as some lord emissary. What a joke. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord said disdainfully. With that said, the 100 Transformations Star-Lord suddenly looked into the distance, his eyebrows raised as he said with a smile that was not a smile. Interesting, this Buzhou mountain that has been silent for so many years, but all of a sudden, there are so many people who have come all of a sudden. It's getting more and more and more. Hearing this, everyone hurriedly turned their heads to look into the distance. They didn't see anyone at all, but everyone knew that 100 Change Star-Lord wouldn't speak without thinking. Someone must have also gone up Mount Buzhou and broken through the layer of restriction outside. Who could these people be? Tang Zheng and the others looked at each other. In the end, Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian shouted in unison. It's the demon god and the other. Tian Chanzi was slightly surprised. He had wanted to find the demon god and see if there was a way to let the cultivators return. He did not expect that these people would also come to Buzhou Mountain. Hearing this name, the 100 Transformations Star-Lord said disdainfully, "What kind of person dares to call himself God? Ridiculous." The demon god is a member of the Devil clan, a descendant of the Jili clan. Tang Zheng introduced. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord curled his lips and said, "The Jili clan is really getting worse and worse. How dare they call themselves God?" Sure enough, with the death of Chiyu, the Jili clan fell apart. Moreover, they are sneakily hiding in the distance, not daring to show themselves. Even after coming to Buzhou Mountain, they still want to shrink their heads. What wishful thinking. Come out. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord roared and grabbed at the void with his small hand. The chi between heaven and earth instantly became chaotic. The demon god and Lewis had sacrificed Sawada Ichiro's life to break the restriction and reach this place. Then, they heard the earth-shattering sounds of battle, so they were attracted here. Originally, they were prepared to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, but they were discovered as soon as they got close. Then, they found that the scene in front of them changed rapidly. Then, the two of them appeared in a dilapidated courtyard. What's going on? The demon god cried out in panic. Humph, you are that demon god, right? You think that I can't do anything to you just because you are sneakily hiding in the distance? In this world, you can't escape from my heaven and earth in the palm. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord said confidently. Heaven and earth in the palm? What kind of magic is this? The demon god's face was pale. His eyes finally focused on the 100 Transformations Star-Lord. He could not help but be a little absent-minded. The other party was obviously a child, but why did he give people such a strange feeling? He could not help but feel a trace of fear. You are not qualified to know. It seems that you two are in the same group. We are not in the same group. We are enemies. Tang Zheng corrected. Oh, interesting. The descendants of the Sorcerer tribe and the Ninely tribe have become enemies. Haha, if Chiyu knew about this, he would probably crawl out of his grave in anger. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord laughed loudly. Presumptuous. Our demon ancestor, Chiyu, is not someone you can talk about. The demon god heard this and shouted angrily with a strong sense of righteousness. Obviously, the demon god had just come close to this place, so he did not know about the conversation just now. He also did not know how powerful the 100 Transformations Star-Lord was. Why can't I talk about Chiyu? Even if Chiyu stood in front of me back then, I would still say the same thing. How can an insignificant descendant of the Ninely tribe like you have the right to talk about him? You reckless fool. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord said angrily. I think you are the one who is reckless. The demon god was used to being high and mighty. He immediately exploded when he was looked down upon. The expressions of Tang Zheng and the rest changed slightly. They felt sorry for the demon god. People like him who did not understand the situation would die a horrible death. As expected, the 100 Transformations Star Monarch flew into a rage upon hearing those words. Then, I'll get rid of you first. With a wave of his hand, the ground under the demon god's feet suddenly collapsed and turned into a small pool. A huge whirlpool appeared, and the demon god was instantly sucked into the whirlpool. It seemed like he was going to be sucked into the ground soon. Lewis was shocked and quickly dodged to the side. He escaped and looked at the scene in panic. The demon god resisted with all his might. He slashed down with the demon dragon saber in his hand. He wanted to use the rebound force to break free from the whirlpool, but he found that it was useless. He could not help but be shocked and terrified. He shouted, "Let me go quickly." "Humph, it is useless to beg." The 100 Transformations Star-Lord was unmoved. Lewis looked at the 100 Faces Star-Lord in horror. How could this childlike person possess such terrifying strength with just a wave of his hand? Tang Zheng and the rest were not surprised. They just did not expect the previously arrogant demon god to die like this. However, this way, the vicious Blood Mountain and River Array could not be activated. There would not be tens of thousands of people sacrificing their lives. Therefore, Tang Zheng was happy to see this happen. "Stop!" Suddenly, Tian Chanzi roared. The sword light flashed and pierced the whirlpool. With a sudden twist, the whirlpool shook violently. Tang Zheng was shocked. He quickly asked, "Tian Chanzi, what are you doing?" "The demon god cannot die," Tian Chanzi said loudly. At this moment, the whirlpool's attack was disrupted. The demon god took advantage of the chaos to soar into the sky and escape from the whirlpool. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord saw this and frowned. He said unhappily, "You are ruining my plans again. Then, none of you can think of leaving here today." Heaven Monk remained unmoved and said, "The demon god came back from the heavens beyond. He is the clearest about the situation in the heavens beyond. If we kill him, we won't be able to find out about the situation in the heavens beyond." Huh. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord looked at the demon god in surprise. He said, "You came back from the sky beyond?" "Yes." The demon god's voice was trembling. He was frightened by the 100 Transformations Star-Lord's divine ability. He did not dare to be arrogant before he figured out the other party's background. "Very good. Then tell us what it is like in the sky beyond?" The 100 Transformations Star-Lord asked impatiently. Huh. The demon god looked at them suspiciously. He did not understand why they were so interested in the sky beyond. When he hesitated, the 100 Transformations Star-Lord's face changed again. He said eerily, "You don't want to talk, right? Then I have many ways to make you talk." The demonic god was shocked and quickly said, I'll tell you right away. The heavens beyond heaven is a very mysterious place. Although the spiritual energy is abundant, it is very dangerous. There are huge hidden dangers. If you are not careful, you will lose your life." The 100 Transformations Star-Lord laughed. "Haha, I already said that the sky beyond is not a good place. Now, I am finally right. It is a dangerous place. I did so much in the past, but those people did not appreciate it. Humph, ridiculous." The demon god looked at the 100 Transformations Star-Lord blankly. He did not understand what he meant. "Senior, how did you know about the sky beyond?" The demon god asked carefully. "Of course I know." The 100 Transformations Star-Lord smiled mysteriously. Seeing that the sky beyond was confirmed, Tian Chanzi's heart skipped a beat. He interrupted and asked, "What happened to the cultivators who were expelled to the sky beyond?" "Most of them died." "Died?" Tian Chanzi's face changed suddenly. He looked like he was in pain. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord snorted and said, "What's so strange about them dying? It would be strange if they did not die in such a dangerous place." Tian Chanzi turned a deaf ear and continued to ask, "What happened to Kinksaman?" "Kinksaman? Almost all of them are dead." Back then, the distinct Void sect was still a big sect. However, their luck wasn't very good. After entering the sky beyond heaven, they encountered several great calamities. They suffered countless casualties and were on the verge of collapse. They could completely disappear at any time. The demon god said expressionlessly, "You're talking nonsense." Tian Chanzi suddenly shouted crazily. His face was ferocious. "Kinksaman will not disappear. Kinksaman will rise again." Kinksaman was Tian Chanzi's sect. He had deep feelings for it. Tang Zheng looked at Tian Chanzi in surprise. He had never seen him lose control of his emotions like this. It seemed that his feelings for his sect were not ordinary. "Could it be that you are from the distinct Void sect?" The demon god was also surprised by the person who had just saved his life. He could feel that this person's cultivation was not ordinary. Moreover, he had seen Tang Zheng use the sword technique of flying deities from heaven. Naturally, he could think of this. Of course I am. I am Tian Chanzi. You are Tian Chanzi? The demon god's eyes widened. He could not help but exclaim, Q. Chapter 421. The demon god stared at Tian Chanzi with his mouth agape. Didn't you die 1,000 years ago? Tian Chanzi curled his lips and said, I won't die so easily. That's right. You are the genius of Kingsaman after all. Although you were expelled from the sect, your strength is not to be underestimated. The demon god sighed. Tangjing looked at Tian Chanzi in surprise and said, You are a genius? Why? Can I be? Tian Chanzi raised his neck proudly. He had never told Tangjing about this. Now that he was exposed, he could not help but feel sad when he thought of his glorious days 1,000 years ago. All his glory had gone with the wind. Hee, of course. It seems that I can't always tease you in the future. Tangjing laughed. The demon god looked at Tangjing and Tian Chanzi's intimate conversation and thought, Legend has it that Tangjing has a mysterious master who can also use the sword art of flying fairies from outer space. Could this master be Tian Chanzi? The demon god was shocked. Although he did not know what cultivation level Tian Chanzi had in the past, there was no doubt that he was stronger than him. Therefore, he could not help but feel uneasy when he became the enemy of Tian Chanzi's disciple. Tian Chanzi did not pay attention to the demon god's anxiety. He looked a little absent-minded and muttered to himself, Why did Kingsaman become so weak? There are so many talents in the sect. Could it be that they still could not resist the inexplicable danger in the outer space? Do you really think that the danger in the outer space is so simple? We have spent so many years and still have not fully explored the outer space. The outer space is vaster than this world. It seems to be boundless. Moreover, there are indigenous races in the outer space. These indigenous races are much stronger than us. If we did not resist them for so many years, we would have been uprooted. The demon god said bitterly, Indigenous races? Everyone's attention was immediately attracted. The 100 Faces Star Sovereign also opened his eyes wide and looked at him curiously. That's right, the outer sky is not without inhabitants. These natives are all residents of the outer sky. They're very powerful, and there's no lack of Grand Ascension stage beings among them. Among us who were banished, the most powerful ones were only at the soul formation stage. During one conflict after another, we suffered greatly. Many sects were even wiped out and disappeared from the face of the world. The demon god's expression changed slightly. He couldn't help but feel a sense of lingering fear as he spoke of the situation in the outer sky. When the 100 Change Star Sovereign heard this, he chuckled and said, You asked for it. Tian Chanzi gritted his teeth and said, I have to save the people of my sect from the realm beyond heaven as soon as possible. It's not that easy to rescue someone from heavens beyond, demon god said. Humph. Tian Chanzi snorted disapprovingly and said, You can't wait to bring back the demon race's people. Isn't it because you want the demon race to escape this calamity? You have a way, but I don't necessarily have no other way. Haha, Tian Chanzi was a genius back in the day. You might have a way, but you don't even have contact with Kingsaman in the outer sky. I'm afraid it won't be that easy to bring people from Kingsaman out. Demon God gradually recovered his arrogance and said, I, Tian Chanzi, am never afraid of difficulties. Tian Chanzi said as he glanced at Tangjing. In fact, his idea was to find the foundation of the stairway to heaven and rebuild it. This was the safest way. What other strange things are there in the outer sky? Tell me all of them, and I'll send you to the gates of hell. The 100 Change Star Sovereign urged the demon god. The demon god was shocked and subconsciously took a step back, saying, If you want to know the situation in the sky beyond, wait until you have the ability to go to the sky beyond. Don't think you can get any useful information from me. Is that so? In that case, there's no need to keep you alive. Go to hell. The 100 Change Star Sovereign shouted. Demon God's face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly shouted, Tian Chanzi, if I want to know more about Kingsaman, work with me to defeat this person. Otherwise, You'll never know. Demon God was not stupid. He immediately wanted to work with Tian Chanzi to resist the 100-change star sovereign. Tian Chanzi hesitated, but Tang Zheng stepped forward and said, Demon God, if you don't want to say it, no one will force you to say it. Since you don't want to say it, then take this information to the gates of hell. Then he turned to Tian Chanzi and advised, Tian Chanzi, we can't stay here for long. Otherwise, if the 100-change star sovereign is free, it will be difficult for us to leave. Tian Chanzi's heart trembled, but he reluctantly said, I really want to know about the sect. Tang Zheng's face flushed red, as if a flame was about to ignite. He took a deep breath and said, I can't control my pure yang energy anymore. It can explode at any time, and it will be too late to leave then. Tian Chanzi was shocked and complained, Why didn't you say so earlier? Since that's the case, then why are we still here talking nonsense with them? In Tian Chanzi's heart, Tang Zheng's safety was naturally more important than the news of his sect. Now, Tian Chanzi felt more and more that Tang Zheng was a treasure and could not allow him to make the slightest mistake. Then let's go. Tang Zheng said in a low voice, Let's go. I'll cover the rear. With Tang Zheng's order, Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian regained their senses as if they had just woken up from a dream and immediately ran away. The two of them had heard so many shocking secrets, and their hearts were already in turmoil. However, at this moment, protecting their lives was more important. He could only watch as the 100 transformations Star Lord quickly disappeared from his sight. Tang Zheng and the others finally rushed in front of the restriction, but at this time, they heard a roar from afar. Stop right there? Of course, they would not stop. Tang Zheng quickly cast a spell to break open the restriction and then rushed out. At this time, Lewis also rushed over, and seeing that the restriction was about to be restored, he quickly increased his speed and rushed out of danger. The few of them entered the world of white snow again, and the cold wind blew, causing them to involuntarily shiver. The inside and outside of the restriction were two completely different worlds, which made them feel a little dazed. Tang Zheng and the others immediately looked at Lewis, who was alone. Lewis's expression changed greatly, and he immediately transformed, flapped his wings, and soared into the sky. However, he did not dare to fly up, and instead flew to the top of the mountain. The top of the mountain was obviously an illusion array, and there was no way to reach the top of the mountain. However, Lewis did not care so much. As long as he was far away from Tang Zheng and the others, he could temporarily save his life. Tang Zheng did not intend to pursue. The most important thing was to escape from the 100 transformations Star Lord's pursuit. Lewis was just a minor detail and was not worth mentioning. Therefore, the few of them rushed to the foot of the mountain. The three of them were very fast, but from afar, they heard a rumbling sound coming from the restriction. The few of them guessed that the 100 transformations Star Lord must be attacking the restriction. This restriction was specially designed to imprison him, so the effect on him was definitely stronger than the others. Tang Zheng could easily rush out, but it might not be so easy for the 100 transformation Star Lord. The few of them heaved a sigh of relief. At the very least, the 100 transformation Star Lord was temporarily blocked. However, the 100 transformation Star Lord was previously very confident, which meant that the restriction might not be able to truly stop him, so it was best to escape as far as possible. Moments later, the few of them finally escaped to the foot of the mountain. Tang Zheng turned his head to take a look, but he could no longer see the restriction on the mountain, and Lewis had also disappeared. Before he could rejoice, a rumbling explosion suddenly came from his body. His qi and blood surged, and pure yang energy erupted. He tasted something sweet in his mouth, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were wide open, and his gaze became dull. He could not breathe, and his eyes rolled back as he fell straight to the ground. Bam! He fell heavily into the snow, and the others hurriedly stopped and cried out in alarm. Q. Chapter 422. The few of them hurriedly helped Tang Zheng up and shouted, Tang Zheng, what happened to you? But Tang Zheng's eyes were tightly shut. He was unconscious and did not answer them at all. Furthermore, his face was flushed red, like a red-hot iron plate. Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian looked at him blankly, not knowing why he suddenly became like this. Tian Chanzi's heart fell to the bottom and shouted. His pure yang energy has exploded. His life is in danger. Then what should we do? Senior, you must save Lord Envoy. Yi Yuan pleaded in panic. Li Xiaotian, on the other hand, was in a daze. That high and mighty Tang Zheng would actually become like this. This was truly beyond her expectations. Of course I will save him. Tian Chanzi's gaze turned cold and suddenly landed on Li Xiaotian's body. In this desolate wilderness, there was no purine energy to neutralize Tang Zheng's pure yang energy, so his only hope was on Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian was being stared at by Tian Chanzi, and from his gaze, he sensed something strange and immediately asked, Senior, why are you looking at me? Right now, the only person who can save him is you. Tian Chanzi said in a deep voice. Me? Li Xiaotian pointed at his nose blankly. I'm not a doctor. How can I save him? Li Tian Chanzi explained. If the pure yang energy in his body explodes, his body will explode and he will die. Only the purine energy in your body can reconcile this pure yang energy. Purine energy? Reconcile? Li Xiaotian was very confused by these words. Yes, if you hand him over, he can be saved. Tian Chanzi said bluntly. What? Hand him over? Li Xiaotian was so scared that she took a step back. She was really shocked by the news. Could doing that kind of thing save people? Why would I lie to you at this time? Tian Chanzi said resolutely. Li Xiaotian glanced at the unconscious Tang Zheng and couldn't help but bite her lip. She had never thought that she would have any sort of intimate relationship with Tang Zheng. As the holy maiden of the Li Palace, she had never even thought about having any sort of intimate relationship with any man. This was because the Li Palace hated men the most. None of the disciples were allowed to have any sort of emotional or physical entanglement with any man. Otherwise, it would be a violation of the sex rules, and they would be expelled from the Li Palace. Li Xiaotian shook his head almost without thinking. No, I can't do that. Tian Chanzi snorted coldly and said, That's not up to you. What are you going to do? Li Xiaotian panicked and kept retreating. I know you are the holy maiden of the Li Palace. If anything happens to Tang Zheng today, then I guarantee that the Li Palace will disappear from this world. Tian Chanzi said with a murderous aura. For the sake of Tang Zheng's life, Tian Chanzi would do anything. Moreover, he was not a benevolent dog in the first place. However, they were too far away and could not see clearly, but almost everyone guessed that the 100 Transformations Star-Lord had broken through the restriction. It seemed that what the 100 Transformations Star-Lord had said was true. If he had not been willing to be imprisoned here, the restriction would not have been able to stop him. Stop dawdling. Let's go. Tian Chanzi threw Tang Zheng onto the heaven horse's body, patted the heaven horse's butt, and shouted, Let's go, as he rushed out of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. When the group of demonic beasts that had gathered outside the prehistoric heavenly tomb heard the earth-shaking sound, they immediately scattered like birds and beasts, crazily running out of the forbidden grounds. Everyone was stunned for a moment. This time, they did not need to fight with the group of demonic beasts and saved a bit of time. And at this moment, Xiaobai finally pulled the Thundercloud beast out of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. The Thundercloud beast's originally ashen face immediately glowed as it looked at him in disbelief. I'm not dead. I'm finally out. I'm actually safe and sound. The Thundercloud beast cheered. For so many years, he had been bound by that instinctive fear and did not dare to take even half a step out of the lightning pool. At this moment, it had finally escaped, but it was confused. It did not know why things had turned out like this. Coincidentally, the ground was shaking more and more violently. It was truly an earthquake, and the prehistoric heavenly tomb was rapidly collapsing. The cold wind was miserable, and there were countless roars and roars. Suddenly, countless rays of light shot up into the sky. The few of them couldn't help but stop in their tracks and turn their heads to look. Tian Chanzi's expression suddenly changed as he shouted, The magic treasure has appeared, and it's not just one or two, but countless magic treasure have appeared. These magic treasures were of different grades. and were all magic treasures that were buried in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. In this earthquake-like commotion, these magic treasures were shaken out, soaring into the sky and shooting in all directions. Other than the magic treasure, there are other living beings. Tian Chanzi's gaze turned cold as he stared at the other figures that had soared into the air. These figures were either big or small, and among them were demonic beasts and generals. These creatures that were originally bound in the prehistoric heavenly tomb had clearly broken free from their restraints and escaped without a trace. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord broke through the restrictions on Mount Buzhou, which is equivalent to breaking through the restrictions on prehistoric heavenly tomb. That's why these creatures and magic treasures can see the light of day again, Tian Chanzi said in realization. Li Xiaotian, on the other hand, had an ugly expression on his face. Many of the creatures in the prehistoric heavenly tomb had powerful strength and had escaped the calamity 300 years ago. These creatures had completely appeared in the world, and he did not know whether it was a blessing or a curse to the outside world. Hurry up! Let's leave this place before the 100 Transformations Star-Lord catches up, Tian Chanzi shouted, and immediately rushed out of the forbidden grounds. The others were unwilling to fall behind and increased their speed. In front of them were demonic beasts that were fleeing in all directions. These demonic beasts seemed to have been shocked and rushed out of the forbidden grounds in a panic. They even rushed out of the black stone tablet at the entrance of the forbidden grounds and disappeared into the vast forest. When the few of them arrived in front of the stone tablet, a furious roar came from behind them. Stop right there. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord had actually caught up. Tian Chanzi immediately stopped in his tracks and shouted, "You guys hurry up and leave, I'll stop him. Li Xiaotian, you must save Tang Zheng, or else I won't let you off even if I become a ghost." Li Xiaotian's heart trembled. He turned his head to look at Tian Chanzi, who had already turned around and rushed towards the 100 Transformations Star-Lord, then clenched his teeth and rushed into the forest with his fastest speed. Yi Yuan protected the heaven horse, carried Tang Zheng, and then rushed into the forest with the other two little fellows. However, before they could go too far, they heard the sounds of intense fighting coming from behind them, shaking the heavens and earth. The few of them were trembling in fear, but they did not dare to stay any longer. They did not want to waste this rare opportunity to escape. It was unknown how far they had fled, but they could no longer hear the sounds of fighting in the distance. In the end, with a bang, Tang Zheng fell from the horse's back, and the few of them stopped in their tracks. Yi Yuan immediately helped Tang Zheng up, but a sizzling sound came from his hands, and white smoke rose up. It was obvious that Tang Zheng's skin was too hot, and his entire body was about to burn up. Li Xiaotian also stopped and looked at the unconscious Tang Zheng with a complicated gaze. "Li Xiaotian, I beg you to quickly save our Lord Envoy," Yi Yuan pleaded in panic. Li Xiaotian's face flushed red and said shyly, I can't save him. I beg you, as long as you save Lord Envoy, Yi Yuan, will repay you even if I have to work like an ox or a horse." Yi Yuan immediately knelt down in front of Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian was shocked. He kept waving his hands, and his head was shaking like a rattled drum, not letting go at all. "No, I really can't." Looking at Tang Zheng's tightly shut eyes and pained expression, her heart was in a mess. She never would have thought that she would fall into such a predicament. "Our Lord Envoy cannot die. I beg you, I will agree to any conditions you have. Go up the mountain of blades, go down the sea of fire. Do not hesitate." Yi Yuan pleaded, unwilling to give up. Li Xiaotian still clenched his teeth and shook his head without thinking. Q. Chapter 423. Tang Zheng's life was hanging by a thread, and Yi Yuan was still weak, so it was impossible for him to force Li Xiaotian to do anything. The situation had reached a stalemate. Li Xiaotian looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. There were two voices arguing in her mind whether or not she should save Tang Zheng. If she did, then she would be betraying the Li Palace. If she did not save him, then Tian Chanzi would definitely not let Li Palace off in the future. She was in a dilemma. So, Suddenly, a few figures jumped out from the forest and rushed in front of them with lightning speed. Yi Yuan was shocked and immediately protected Tang Zheng as he looked at the people who came. But when he saw who it was, Yi Yuan couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This person was actually from the martial sect. There were two people standing in front of him. One of them was the escaping marshal, and the other was a middle-aged man. When Yi Yuan faced this person, he couldn't help but feel a sense of insignificance. It was as if this person was a towering mountain, making it difficult for others to look at his back. Li Xiaotian also saw the other party, especially when he saw the middle-aged man. He couldn't help but exclaim, "Martial Sect's sect master." Yes, this middle-aged man was the martial sect's sect master. He glanced at Li Xiaotian and nodded slightly. "I didn't expect the holy maiden of Li Palace to come here as well." Li Xiaotian's heart skipped a beat and said, "Li Xiaotian greets sect master." As he spoke, he cupped his hands and bowed. "Why didn't your Li Palace master come?" The martial sect's sect master asked. "Asgard mistress is cultivating in seclusion." "Oh, I haven't seen her in a long time. I wonder how her cultivation has progressed." The martial sect's sect master asked curiously. "Asgard mistress cultivation is unfathomable. I am unable to speak nonsense," Li Xiaotian said. The martial sect's sect master grinned and said, "When the matters here are settled, I will go and meet her." After saying that, his gaze turned and landed on Tang Zheng. His eyebrows furrowed as he asked in a deep voice, "Is it him?" Wu said respectfully, "Yes." Hearing that, the martial sect's sect leader walked towards Tang Zheng. Yi Yuan was shocked. Of course he knew that he was not a match for the other party, but he still shouted without a care for himself, "Stop! What are you doing?" The martial sect's sect leader's gaze turned cold, like a blade sweeping across, causing Yi Yuan to feel as if there was a blade on his back, but he still clenched his teeth, not giving in an inch. "Humph! A mere cultivator dares to stop me. You're courting death." His tone was filled with a strong, murderous intent, causing others to tremble in fear. "If you want to hurt our Lord Envoy, then step over my corpse first." Yi Yuan roared fearlessly, "Then I'll fulfill your wish." The sect leader of the martial sect was furious. He extended his arm and grabbed towards Yi Yuan. Immediately, Yi Yuan felt that he was completely enveloped by a terrifying power and was unable to move at all. "Xiao Bai, protect Lord Envoy." In a moment of desperation, Yi Yuan shouted loudly. With a squeak, Xiao Bai jumped in front of Tang Zheng and opened its mouth. A ball of flame soared into the sky and rushed towards the martial organization's sect leader. The martial sect's sect leader flashed to the side in surprise and dodged the attack. He looked at Xiao Bai with a serious expression and clicked his tongue. "A demonic beast is truly interesting." Squeak, squeak. Xiao Bai showed off his might and bared his teeth at the martial sect's sect leader. Not long later, the thundercloud beast also joined Xiao Bai's camp. The two little fellows closely guarded in front of Tang Zheng, not allowing the other party to get close. "Sect leader, that Xiao Bai is not simple. Be careful," Marshall reminded. It's just two demonic beasts. What's there to be afraid of?" However, why is this brat unconscious? Could it be that he is seriously injured? The martial sect's sect leader asked doubtfully. Li Xiaotian explained. "The pure yang energy in his body has exploded. He won't live for long." "What? The pure yang energy exploded so early?" The martial sect's sect leader raised his thick eyebrows in astonishment. You also know about the pure yang energy?" Li Xiaotian opened his eyes wide in shock. Not only Li Xiaotian, even Wu looked at his own sect leader in disbelief. However, the martial sect's sect leader did not explain the reason behind it. He said in a deep voice, "Since he doesn't have long to live, then I have to obtain him even more." As soon as he finished speaking, the martial sect's sect leader rushed over. "Stop him." Yi Yuan turned pale with fright. Xiao Bai and the thundercloud beast launched a counterattack at the same time. Flames and lightning struck out at the same time, and with a boom, the place where the martial sect's sect leader was standing turned into scorched earth. However, the martial sect's sect leader seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Suddenly, Yi Yuan's heart trembled. He suddenly had an ominous premonition and punched the air beside him. Bang! A palm met his fist, and Yi Yuan was like a kite with a broken string, flying out. Tang Zheng fell limply into the hands of the martial sect's sect leader. In that split second, the martial sect's sect leader had actually deceived everyone's eyes and attention, passed through Xiaobai and the Thunder Cloud Beast attacks, and controlled Tang Zheng. Then, in a flash, the martial sect's sect leader had already grabbed Tang Zheng and retreated a few meters away. Xiaobai and the Thunder Cloud Beast wanted to attack again, but they stared at Tang Zheng in the other party's hands and did not dare to attack. Yi Yuan's eyes were about to split open as he shouted, "Why did you capture our Lord Envoy?" The martial sect's sect leader did not comment. He turned around and walked into the forest. Wu Wu hurriedly followed. "Stop! You are not allowed to take Lord Envoy away." Yi Yuan climbed up without caring about his own safety, and then chased after him without hesitation. Xiaobai, the Thunder Cloud Beast, the Heavenly Horse, and the Four Symbols Venerable Ones also hurriedly chased after them. However, without the control of Tang Zheng, the Four Symbols Venerable Ones could only advance instinctively, and their threat was greatly reduced. Li Xiaotian watched all of this with her mouth agape, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, her heart stirred, and she muttered to herself, "Tang Zheng has fallen into the hands of the martial sect's sect leader. I'm afraid that he will not be able to survive. If Tian Chanzi did not die in the hands of the 100 Faces Star Lord, then I wonder if he will vent his anger on me. No matter what, this 10,000 huge mountains is a place of trouble. It's not good to stay here for long." With that thought, Li Xiaotian did not delay any longer. He looked deeply in the direction that Tang Zheng had disappeared in, turned around and rushed in another direction. Yi Yuan and the others were very fast, but the martial sect's sect leader was even faster. In the end, they could only watch as the other party disappeared into the dense forest, powerless to do anything. Yi Yuan sat on the ground dispiritedly as if he had lost his parents. He fiercely hammered the ground and said, "Yi Yuan, why are you so useless? You can't even protect Lord Envoy?" He regretted it for a long time, and tears welled up in his eyes. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "I must go back and report this matter to the elders, and then we can discuss countermeasures." Tang Zheng was like a leaf, lightly held in the hands of the martial sect's sect leader, who was moving forward in the dense forest as fast as lightning. After running for an unknown distance, the martial sect's sect leader stopped in his tracks, and Wu also staggered to a stop. If not for the fact that the sect master had promoted her a few times at the critical moment, it would have been difficult for her to escape the pursuit. She took a deep breath and looked at the unconscious Tang Zheng with mixed feelings. To her, Tang Zheng was too strong. But the strange thing was that he had fallen into a coma just like that. What was going on with the so-called explosion of pure yang energy? She looked at the sect master blankly and asked, "Sect leader, what should we do now?" The martial sect's sect leader stared at Tang Zheng without blinking, and only after a long while did he say, "Save him." Wu opened his mouth wide in shock and said, "Save him? Is he a cultivator, an enemy?" From beginning to end, Wu was unable to guess Tang Zheng's identity. Although he had already guessed that he would have some relationship with the martial sect, he did not know the details. The martial sect did not pay attention to her surprise. Instead, he took out a jade pendant from his collar. On it was a large martial character. When Wu saw the jade pendant again, he couldn't help but fall into silence. After a long while, he seemed to have come to a realization and said, "Sect leader, could it be that you want to save him and find out his relationship with the martial sect?" The sect master fell into silence once again. Wu frowned and said, "Then how can we save him? The eruption of pure yang energy, I have never heard of such a thing." The sect leader raised his head, and his gaze fell on Wu. Looking at this gaze, Wu had a strange feeling and asked, "Sect leader, what's wrong?" "Wu, the only person who can save him is you." The sect leader said, "Me?" Wu pointed at the bridge of his nose, at a loss. "My strength is not even comparable to his. How can I save him?" "If you want to save him, the only person who can do it is you, sect leader, right?" The sect leader shook his head and said firmly, "If I say it's you, it's you. Wu, do you know what kind of body you have?" Wu was even more confused as he shook his head in a daze. "Your body is a body of evil. Back then, I spent a lot of effort to find you. Do you still remember when you were young? You were weak and sickly?" The sect leader asked. Wu was confused, but he still nodded and said, "Of course I remember, but I don't know why, but my body got better and better and I didn't get sick again. That's because you cultivate the roaring flame saber. The roaring flame saber is a martial art that is extremely young and strong. It just so happens to offset the eviling energy in your body, which is why your physique is getting better and better," the sect leader said. Wu's eyes widened. This was beyond her expectations. For a long time, she was speechless. After a long while, she asked with mixed feelings, "Sect leader, you said that you spent a lot of effort to find me. Why did you spend so much effort to find me?" Wu had more and more questions in her heart. Her mind was a mess, and she had almost lost the ability to think. "Of course I have a use for you. Firstly, I can save your life, but the most important thing is to let you play your current role," the sect leader said in a deep voice. Wu suddenly realized, "You mean to save him? The reason you found me back then was so that you could save Tang Jing one day?" The sect leader nodded without hesitation. Wu's heart was in turmoil as he stared blankly at the unconscious Tang Zheng. So his existence was all for him. Why was that? She had always thought that her existence was to exterminate cultivators, but in the end, her existence was to save a cultivator. It was simply sarcastic to her for the past 20 years. It was truly a joke. "Wu, time is of the essence. We can't delay any longer. You have to save him immediately," Wu urged impatiently. Chapter 424. Facing the sect master's urging, Marshall seemed to be petrified, but he quickly reacted and asked in confusion, "How do I save him?" Since this was the sect master's order, Marshall would naturally choose to carry it out. The sect master said without hesitation, "Hand him over." "What? Hand him over?" Marshall's eyes widened in disbelief. "That's right, this is also beneficial to you. Even though the balefulline energy in your body is temporarily under control because you have cultivated the roaring flame saber, but after a long time, this balefulline energy will still devour your body. Furthermore, you and Tang Zhang have exchanged He Qi, Yin and Yang are in harmony, so with the pure Yang energy in his body, he can completely neutralize your balefulline energy. This way, you won't have to worry about the consequences." Marshall bit her lips. Although she was usually filled with killing intent, she was still a woman deep down. How could she not be shy in the face of such a thing? She did not give up and asked, "Could it be that there's no other way?" The sect master sighed and said, "If there was any other way, I wouldn't have let you do this." Marshall looked at the unconscious Tang Zheng with mixed feelings. The snow-white teeth that were biting her lips gradually loosened. She hesitated and said, "Then, all right." She had been living in the Marshall sect since she was young. The Marshall sect was her home, and the sect master was both her master and her father. Facing his orders, she could not bring herself to resist. This was because listening to the sect master's orders was a belief that was deeply engraved in her bones. "There's no time to lose. I'll go stand guard outside. Hurry up." After the sect master finished speaking, he turned around and disappeared. Marshall looked at Tang Zhang, who was lying in the grass, and her face involuntarily turned red. Although she was in her 20s, she was still inexperienced. Normally, she would come into contact with many men, but she had never thought of that. Now that she was suddenly faced with such a difficult problem, she was at a loss. However, she was not an idiot. Of course, she knew what to do. She took a deep breath and suppressed the shyness and restlessness in her heart. She squatted down and stared at Tang Zheng. She couldn't help but mutter to herself, "He doesn't seem to be ugly. In fact, he's a little handsome." My first time was with him. She didn't dare to think about it anymore. She had never thought about what her first time would be like. Now that she was faced with this question, her heart couldn't help but beat wildly. Seeing that Tang Zheng's face was getting redder and redder, she knew that she couldn't delay any longer. so she reached out her hand. Her skin was very good, delicate and white. Although she was tall, her frame wasn't big, and her fingers were long and slender. When she touched Tang Zheng's clothes, she couldn't help but shrink back, and her breathing quickened. She patted her chest and secretly encouraged him. "Wu, do your best. This is nothing. But I used to be enemies with him, and now I want to have skin contact with him. Isn't this change too fast?" Another voice sounded out. Indeed, the relationship between the two of them had never been harmonious. Moreover, Wu had found out that Tang Zheng was the culprit behind her amnesia. Just as she was feeling conflicted, Tang Zheng couldn't help but moan. A surge of energy rippled out from his body. Crap, could it be that his pure young energy is about to completely erupt? No, I can't delay any longer. I have to hurry. Wu's eyes turned cold, and he no longer hesitated. Tang Zheng's life was of great importance. He was inextricably linked to the martial sect, so he definitely couldn't let him die like this. Thus, she quickly took off Tang Zheng's clothes, revealing a broad and hard chest. This was the first time Wu had seen a man's naked body. Her cheeks couldn't help but turn red, like a ripe apple, extremely alluring. When she stripped Tang Zheng naked, her gaze couldn't help but be attracted to the lower half of his body. However, she quickly averted her gaze in embarrassment. She took a deep breath and slowly undid her clothes. When an alluring body was completely revealed, the small forest seemed to have increased its scenery. Even the wind in the mountain forest became much warmer. After working hard for a long time, Wu finally clumsily merged the two of them into one. A surge of pure yang energy immediately rushed into her body. Boom! A burst of baleful energy exploded. Wu was very familiar with this energy. Before she started cultivating when she was young, this baleful energy had been tormenting her. Not long after, she would have an attack, causing her body to turn cold as if she had fallen into an ice cave. That was her childhood nightmare. At this moment, this familiar feeling attacked her again, causing her teeth to involuntarily tremble. The pain that penetrated deep into her bones stimulated her, causing her to instantly fall into a coma. The two bodies were tightly pressed together. Time unknowingly passed, and after an unknown period of time, Tang Zheng opened his eyes. When he saw the person lying on top of him and closely connected to him, he couldn't help but shiver. Damn, what's going on? He stared at Wu with his mouth agape. It was obvious that he had recognized her. But the key point was, how could it be her? He immediately realized that his pure yang energy had erupted earlier, so he had walked back from the gates of hell after reconciling with her yin and yang energy. The key point was, why would Wu save him? Didn't she hate him to the bone? Could it be that Tian Chanzi caught her and forced her to do this? He shook his head and guessed. However, his attention was quickly attracted by another matter. His cultivation had actually broken through to the 5th level of Anidia, increasing by 3 levels in one go. How is this possible? Tang Zheng was baffled. He was very clear that the higher his cultivation, the harder it would be for him to increase it. But now, he had actually increased his cultivation by 3 levels. This was simply a miracle. His gaze involuntarily locked onto Wu's body. Without a doubt, this miracle was created by her. Just what kind of physique does she have? It's actually more helpful to me than the purine body and the profoundine body. Tang Zheng was at a loss. Ever since Wu had cultivated the roaring flame blade, her yin fiend body's physique had been concealed, so it was difficult for ordinary people to discover it. Even though Tang Zheng had interacted with her so many times, he still hadn't discovered her yin fiend body's physique. Suddenly, a groan sounded out. Wu Di opened her eyes and felt a wave of pain coming from her body. The feeling from her lower body was exceptionally clear, causing her to involuntarily frown. Seeing that she had woken up, Tang Zheng quickly turned around. Their eyes met, staring at each other. Both of them stared blankly. Tang Zheng was stunned. She was originally very beautiful, but at such a close distance and without a single strand of clothing on, she was even more beautiful and soul-stirring. If it was any other man, their heart would not be able to help but race. But the key point was that the other party was not an ordinary woman, but a woman who killed without batting an eyelid. With the two of them like this, wouldn't she tear him into pieces? I. Just as Tang Zheng opened his mouth, he was interrupted by Marshall's exclamation. Marshall's eyes widened in disbelief as he muttered to himself, "How is this possible? How could my cultivation suddenly go from the first stage of the pre-celestial stage to the third stage of the pre-celestial stage?" With that, she turned her gaze towards Tang Zheng, bit her lips and thought, could it be that this is his credit? Could it be that doing that with him has such a miraculous effect? Just as this thought appeared in her mind, her gaze shifted downwards and she immediately looked down. The two of them were closely connected and couldn't be any more intimate. She couldn't help but cry out in alarm and hurriedly got up. However, the pain there caused her to involuntarily stagger and fall to the ground. Tang Zheng's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He shouted, "Be careful," and pounced over like lightning. He hugged her body, and the two of them met each other with sincerity and tightly hugged each other. Tang Zheng's pair of demonic claws pressed even more tightly onto her chest. Marshall's body went weak, but he was also furious. Just now, she had only saved him because she was following the sect master's orders. Moreover, he was still unconscious at that time. Although she was shy, she was not as embarrassed as when the two of them were awake. "You, let go," Marshall shouted in embarrassment and anger. Tang Zheng retracted his hand as if he had been electrocuted and said embarrassedly, "Thank you for saving me." "Humph, it's not that I want to save you," Marshall said coldly. "Anyway, thank you. Turn around. I want to put on my clothes." "You're not allowed to peek." Marshall grabbed the clothes on the ground and covered his body as he shouted. Tang Zheng quickly turned around and asked without looking back, "What exactly is going on?" Marshall quickly put on her clothes while clenching her teeth. She thought hatefully in her heart, "You still have the nerve to ask this question, humph?" Seeing that she did not answer, Tang Zheng did not ask any more questions. He quickly picked up his clothes and put them on. Without a doubt, this matter was getting more and more complicated. He had to figure it out as soon as possible. Moreover, he remembered that he, Tian Chanzi, and the others had escaped from Mount Buzhou. He did not see anyone else, so he wondered how they were doing. Did they successfully escape from the tiger's den? He let his imagination run wild for a moment, but he did not have an answer. "All right, you can turn around now." Seeing that Tang Zheng was also neatly dressed, Marshall said. Their eyes met. Although her beautiful body was covered by her clothes, the soul-stirring scene from before was still imprinted in Tang Zheng's mind. "You're still looking. Do you believe that I won't dig out your eyeballs?" Marshall threatened with a murderous aura. Tang Zheng quickly looked away and asked, "Where's my friend?" "They're all dead," Marshall said snappily. "What did you say?" Tang Zheng was shocked. He was dumbstruck and instantly released a biting cold killing intent. "You said they're all dead. Did the 100 Transformations Star-Lord kill them?" "What 100 Transformations Star-Lord?" Marshall was just casually lying to him, but he did not expect him to have such a big reaction. He asked blankly, "Who was the 100 Transformations Star-Lord? Hurry up and tell me. Where were they killed?" Tang Zheng quickly approached and roared, "Young man, your temper is quite big." The martial sect's sect master's voice floated into Tang Zheng's ears. When Tang Zheng turned his head, he discovered that there was another person beside him. From the beginning to the end, he did not sense anyone else nearby, but the other party had silently appeared like a ghost, causing his nerves to involuntarily tense up. Chapter 425. Tang Zheng stared at the stranger in front of him and asked, "Who are you?" "Don't be rude," Wu De shouted. "This is our sect master." "Sect master?" Tang Zheng was shocked. Isn't this person the leader of the martial sect? Wasn't he the one who issued the order to kill all the cultivators in the world? In an instant, Tang Zheng's hair stood on end as he stared at the other party warily. The sect master waved his hand, indicating that there was no need to make a fuss. He asked indifferently, "Are you afraid of me? Didn't you want to kill me? Why did you save me?" Tang Zheng asked in surprise, "Who gave you the jade pendant around your neck?" The sect master did not answer, but went straight to the point. "Jade pendant?" Tang Zheng subconsciously touched the jade pendant and suddenly remembered the last time he saw the jade pendant. He said coldly, "No comment." The sect master was not angry. Instead, he took out a jade pendant with the word sect carved on it and said, "Your jade pendant and this jade pendant are a pair." Tang Zheng stared at the jade pendant that was almost identical, his heart trembling. Grandfather once said that this jade pendant is related to my background. Could it be that my background is really related to the martial sect? This was truly an inconceivable matter. The martial sect had spent so much effort to kill cultivators, and his own background was related to the martial sect. No matter how he listened to it, it sounded like a dream. Seeing Tang Zheng's expression change, Wu Yi stared at him without blinking, his heartbeat uncontrollably increasing. Without a doubt, this was definitely a huge secret, and she urgently wanted to know the ins and outs of this matter. "Are you an orphan?" the sect master asked. Tang Zheng snorted, but did not comment. "It's useless if you don't answer. I've already investigated you. You're an orphan that Tang Dahai picked up back then. Do you want to know who your biological parents are?" The martial sect's sect master asked. Tang Zheng's head thumped. This question had been bothering him since he was a child. He saw other children with their parents, but he didn't. Because of this, he was ridiculed. He really wanted to find his parents. However, as he gradually got used to it and realized how difficult it was for his grandfather to raise him, his desire to find his biological parents gradually faded. At this moment, when this question was brought up again, he hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, "My family is only my grandfather. I don't want to know about them." The sect leader frowned and asked, "It seems that you hate them?" "It's not hate. I'm just a stranger to them," Tang Zheng said calmly. "Isn't it a good thing to be reunited with your family? Why aren't you willing?" The sect leader asked. Tang Zheng coldly snorted and said, "If you don't have any other questions, I'll leave first." He was worried about the safety of the others. Wu said that they were already dead, so he had to investigate thoroughly. "You can't leave yet," the sect leader said. Tang Zheng's expression turned cold as he adopted a defensive stance. The martial organization was enough to make the great clans so fearful, so this sect leader was definitely not an ordinary person. Tang Zheng did not dare to be careless. However, he also knew that he was definitely not the opponent's opponent. But so what? He would not just sit there and wait for death. "If you want to kill me, then come," Tang Zheng coldly said. The sect leader retorted, "If I wanted to kill you, I wouldn't have let Marshall save you." Tang Zheng's heart thumped. That's right, if the martial organization wanted to get rid of him, he could have done it with a single blade. Why would he let Marshall sacrifice himself to save him? Moreover, this kind of sacrifice was precious to a woman, even more important than her life. Immediately, Tang Zheng could not help but be suspicious. What was the other party's goal, and why did he fall into the hands of the martial organization? Could it be that my friends were all killed by you? Otherwise, why would I fall into your hands? Tang Zheng asked with killing intent. "I didn't kill your friends. I came for you," the sect leader said resolutely. "I'm just a small character. How could I make you?" The dignified martial organization's sect leader mobilized so many people. "I've already said it before. I came for your background. You are a member of the martial organization, but you are enemies with the martial organization everywhere. This is a matter of pain for your loved ones and pleasure for your enemies," the sect leader said regretfully. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment. Although he had already guessed a little, when he confirmed it from the other party's mouth, he could not help but feel his heart sway. "Haha, I am a cultivator, and the martial organization specializes in hunting cultivators. How could I be a member of the martial organization?" The sect leader sighed and said, "There are too many secrets that cannot be revealed to outsiders." When she heard the sect leader sigh, it was as if she could not believe her eyes and ears. Ever since she could remember, the sect leader had never sighed before. He was like an invincible war god, never having such negative emotions. Waves of shock surged in Wu's heart as he watched everything in disbelief. However, Tang Zheng was unmoved and said, "I don't care about any secrets. I'm not interested in these secrets either." "Don't tell me you don't want to recognize your biological parents?" The sect leader hesitated for a moment before asking, if they still had a bit of responsibility as parents, they wouldn't have abandoned me. If it wasn't for my good luck, I'm afraid I would have disappeared from this world when I was still an infant. Tang Zheng's words carried a trace of anger. They have their own difficulties. It's just that you don't know about them, the sect leader said with a gloomy expression. Tang Zheng ignored him and said, my only relative is my grandfather, no one else, and I don't want to recognize anyone else. If you want to keep me, then make your move. With that, Tang Zheng turned around and left. Halt! The sect leader let out a low snort. His figure flashed as he grabbed Tang Zheng's shoulder. It was a simple attack, but it made Tang Zheng feel as if he had been locked onto by an earth-shattering aura. No matter which direction he dodged in, he would not be able to escape this grab. Break for me! Tang Zheng roared. The war soul sword had already appeared in his hand, and he fiercely slashed at the hand above his head. Puff! The air seemed to be torn apart, but this pair of hands did not dodge. When the war soul sword quickly slashed at the palm, the gesture changed, and 2 fingers actually clamped down on the tip of the sword, making it difficult for the war soul sword to advance any further. You are not my match. Give up, the sect leader advised. Don't even think about it. Tang Zheng clenched his teeth, wanting to pull out the war soul sword, but found that it did not move at all. Clang! Suddenly, he felt that his hand was empty. The war soul sword had actually left Tang Zheng's hand and landed in the sect leader's hand. Buzz! The war soul sword broke away from its master's control and started to tremble nonstop, but it was unable to break free from the sect leader's grasp. The magic treasure is indeed different from the rest. The sect leader looked at the war soul sword in his hand and sighed. You already have a magic treasure, so you're no match for me, the sect leader said. Tang Zheng snorted, but he did not give up. He extended his hand, and the heaven-shocking bow appeared in his hand. He opened the bow and knocked the arrow. The sun-shooting arrow was ready to be released, containing a terrifying power. Marshall had seen the power of the heaven-shocking bow before, and although he had never seen the sun-shooting arrow before, he could clearly feel the threat. He shouted in shock, Sect leader, be careful, this bow and arrow is very powerful. The sect leader said expressionlessly, then I'll experience how powerful your bow and arrow is. Wong! The sun-shooting arrow pierced through the air, and in that instant, the world seemed to change color. The sun-shooting arrow was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it was already there, heading straight for the sect leader's chest. At this moment, the sect leader raised his eyebrows and said, Good archery. Waving the war soul sword in his hand, he drew a large circle in the air. The sun-shooting arrow immediately shot into the circle, and a surging power spread out. Bang! Bang! In all directions, all the trees that were shaken by this power were all cut in half and collapsed with a loud bang. Marshall looked at all of this in disbelief. This was just the power of one arrow. Wasn't this too terrifying? This was much more powerful than the empty arrows in the past. The sect leader's expression also became dignified. He drew 2 circles in succession, completely enveloping the shooting sun arrow. The shooting sun arrow suddenly stopped, and its offensive power was reduced. The sect leader's big hand reached out and grabbed the shooting sun arrow. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted. The sun-shooting arrow could help him raise his fighting strength by a few levels, but it was still unable to harm his opponent in the slightest. He did not stay any longer. Using the earth-shrinking technique, he quickly retreated into the dense forest. You won't be able to escape. The sect leader's speed was even faster than Tang Zheng's. With a flash of his figure, he blocked Tang Zheng's path. Tang Zheng shot out another arrow without thinking. The sect leader did the same thing. The war soul sword drew a few more circles and entered a stalemate with the sun-shooting arrow. Tang Zheng took advantage of this short opportunity to quickly escape. Halt! Marshall shouted and chased after her. However, her cultivation was still weaker than Tang Zheng's and was still lacking by a bit. The sect leader neutralized the attack of the sun-shooting arrow again. With one hand holding the war soul sword and the other holding the 2 sun-shooting arrows, he chased after them relentlessly. Tang Zheng did not need to turn his head to understand that the pursuers were getting closer and closer, but he did not run in the direction of the witch tribe. If the martial sect found out the exact whereabouts of the witch tribe, it would be a disaster for the witch tribe. Where to? Suddenly, he had an idea. Prehistoric heavenly tomb, right? Go there. He didn't know if the 100 Transformations Star-Lord had broken through the restrictions, or if he had lured the sect leader to the 100 Transformations Star-Lord, he would have a chance to escape. Sect leader, let's hurry up, or else we'll let him escape. Wu had already used all of her abilities, but she was still unable to catch up to Tang Zheng. However, she discovered that the sect leader was running side by side with her, and did not have any intention of increasing her speed to catch up to him. There's no need to be anxious, he won't be able to escape. Didn't you say that he still has a mysterious witch tribe under him? Maybe he wants to go to the witch tribe to seek reinforcements, and we just happen to follow him. Otherwise, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens to find these people in such a huge 10,000 huge mountains. The sect leader said. Wu's eyes lit up as he said, "Sect leader is wise." Sect leader, what should we do after we capture Tang Zheng? The sect leader smiled but did not say anything. Wu was full of suspicion, but he did not dare to ask again. Tang Zheng gritted his teeth in hatred. These two people were truly two tails, chasing closely after him, causing him to be exhausted. He did not know when he would reach the end. Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from the front, shaking the heavens and earth. Chapter 426. Hearing the loud sound, Tang Zheng subconsciously stopped in his tracks and looked up, only to see a mess in front of him. The huge forest had turned into ruins, with broken walls. A complacent shout rang out, "Tan Chanzi, obediently accept your death." Boom. With a loud sound, a figure flew over from the distance and landed not far away from Tang Zheng in a sorry state. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted as he cried out involuntarily, "Chanzi." Tian Chanzi was dumbstruck and exclaimed, "Brat, why are you back? Your pure yang force is already under control?" Tang Zheng immediately stood in front of Tian Chanzi to protect him and said, "I'm fine. How are you? I won't die for the time being, but this 100 Transformations Star-Lord is really hard to deal with." Tian Chanzi said solemnly, "Where are the others?" "The others? Didn't they leave with you? Didn't you see them when you woke up?" Tian Chanzi was extremely surprised. "They're not dead, right?" Tang Zheng asked anxiously. "Dead? Anyway, when we separated, they were still safe and sound. Brat, stop dawdling and leave quickly. The two of us are not a match for the 100 Transformations Star-Lord." Tian Chanzi urged impatiently. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. Since they were separated and the others were still safe and sound, then Wu's words might not be credible. "Tang Zheng, you actually came as well. Haha, just in time. I'll send you on your way." The 100 Transformations Star-Lord rushed over and laughed sinisterly. Tang Zheng remained unmoved, but shifted his gaze to the back. As expected, two figures chased after him like shadows. He was overjoyed. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord was too powerful. He was afraid that he could only temporarily rely on the power of the martial sect master to contend against him. Two more people came. Who are they? The 100 Transformations Star-Lord stared at the newcomers and frowned. "Yeah, why is there a child?" Seeing the appearance of the 100 Transformations Star-Lord, Marshall subconsciously blurted out. The 100 Change Star Sovereign flew into a rage. "I hate it when people call me a child. You are a child to begin with. Don't tell me you want to pretend to be an adult?" Marshall said matter-of-factly. "Women are indeed sharp-tongued. I'll break your teeth first." The 100 Transformations Star Sovereign roared and disappeared. Suddenly, Marshall felt a sense of danger that he had never felt before. All the hair on his body stood on end, but before he could resist, the figure of the 100 Transformations Star-Lord appeared in front of her once again. She didn't see clearly how he had come to her side from so far away. She couldn't help but be stunned. Whoosh! He slapped her in the mouth. With this slap, her mouth full of teeth would definitely be broken. but she had no room to resist at all. Bang! A fist appeared right in front of her and blocked the slap. A strong airflow rose into the sky and spread in all directions. Marshall's cheeks were in pain from the wind. He immediately retreated and finally saw that the sect master had saved him at the critical moment. You have some ability. The 100 Transformations Star-Lord's eyes flashed as he warned the sect master who was right in front of him. Tian Chanzi looked at the sect master in astonishment and exclaimed, "Who is this person? His strength is not simple, to be able to block the attack of the 100 Transformations Star-Lord. He is the martial sect's sect master." Tang Zheng introduced him in a low voice. In the blink of an eye, Tian Chanzi opened his eyes wide and said with unconcealable anger, "It's him? He was the one who ordered the hunting of cultivators?" "Yes. Why is he here? The people sent by the martial sect last time returned empty-handed. That's why he personally took action. They were the ones who saved me just now." "They saved you?" Tan Chanzi was in disbelief. "I thought it was that little girl from the Li Palace who saved you." "So it was this girl. Back then in the ordinary balance, she chased after you to kill you. This time, you've taken revenge on her." Tang Jing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Isn't the martial sect hunting cultivators? Why would they save you?" Tian Chanzi asked suspiciously. Tang Zheng said in a low voice, "My background seems to be related to the martial sect." "Ah, how could this be? Didn't Tang Dahai pick you up from the garbage dump?" Tian Chanzi was even more surprised. "Sigh, it's a long story. Let's first solve the problem in front of us." Tang Zheng sighed. The others did not pay attention to the whispers between the two of them. Instead, they focused on each other. The martial sect's sect master had long since frowned as he looked at the 100 Transformations Star-Lord with a complicated expression. He asked warily, "Who are you?" "Haha, I haven't asked who you are yet. You have quite the guts to actually dare to ask me." The 100 Transformations Star-Lord said with a fake smile. "His name is 100 Transformations Star-Lord. He's a very powerful cultivator," Tang Zheng shouted. With that said, the martial sect's sect master's expression remained the same, but Wu Zong's face turned pale with fright. He exclaimed in his heart, "This person is a cultivator. Where did such a powerful cultivator come from?" Of course, the martial sect's sect master also wanted to know the answer. He said with a burst of blood, "Are you a cultivator from the 10,000 huge mountains?" He was sure that there was no such powerful cultivator in the outside world. This person had most likely been hiding in the 10,000 huge mountains. Something had obviously changed in the 10,000 huge mountains, so it was not as dangerous as before. That was why his journey was unimpeded. If it was in the past, when he met such a cultivator, he would definitely not hesitate to use his killing move. But now, Tang Zheng's appearance had disrupted his established steps, so he was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he wanted to figure out the ins and outs of the situation. "Of course I am a cultivator from the 10,000 huge mountains. Who are you?" "He is the martial sect's sect master. The martial sect specializes in hunting cultivators?" Tang Zheng shouted. More accurately speaking, the 100 Transformations Star-Lord belonged to cultivators. Although there was no distinction between cultivators and warriors in ancient times, it was obvious that the 100 Transformations Star-Lord cultivated innate chi, so he was a cultivator. However, 100 Change Star King did not have any prejudice about the difference between genuine chi and internal strength. He did not care about the difference between practitioners and warriors. He just praised, "No wonder you can hunt practitioners. It turns out that you have such high strength. However, it is your bad luck to meet me, 100 Change Star King. Humph, I have come to this world again. If I don't use blood as a sacrifice, wouldn't it be too lonely?" Hearing that, Tang Zheng was overjoyed and said in a low voice, "Tan Chanzi, this 100 Transformations Star-Lord is too abnormal. We should leave first and let the martial sect's sect master entangle him." "How can that be?" Tian Chanzi immediately rejected. "This martial sect's sect master killed so many cultivators. I want to get rid of him first." "Don't be angry." Tang Zheng quickly persuaded him. "Tian Chanzi, isn't it a good thing to have such an enemy to attract firepower?" Why do we have to stay? This 100 transformations Star-Lord is a big trouble. We have to stay away. Tian Chanzi's heart moved. Just now he and the 100 transformations Star-Lord fought hundreds of rounds. He was the most clear about the opponent's strength. He judged that the opponent's strength was at least at the Yuanying stage. As for the specific cultivation, he could not guess. In other words, Tian Chanzi was definitely not the opponent of the 100 transformations Star-Lord. In this case, if he recklessly entangled with the opponent, he would be courting death. Tian Chanzi was still shouldering the mission of letting the cultivators return. How could he be willing to lose his life like this? So he nodded calmly and said, "Okay, I promise you, we will retreat first. Since the martial sect girls saved you, then I will let them go for the time being. If they can escape from the 100 transformations Star-Lord, then I will find them to settle accounts." Hearing this, Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. Hearing that the 100 transformations Star-Lord wanted to kill him, the martial sect leader's expression did not change. He gripped the war soul sword tightly and said without fear, "You are a cultivator. I want to kill you too." He let Tang Zheng go, but that did not mean that he would be merciful to other cultivators, so he raised the sword in his hand. His movements were not fast. He lightly drew a few circles in front of his chest, and a vast power rushed out from these circles like a volcanic eruption. There was a clap of thunder on the ground. There was no warning before, just a few strokes of the war soul sword, and the aura was completely different. Seeing that, Tian Chanzi raised his eyebrows and praised. As expected of the martial sect leader, this sword technique is not simple. Its power is peerless. As if to confirm his judgment, the 100 transformations Star-Lord roared and quickly retreated. The ground he was standing on had already started to crack, as if it was an earthquake. The cracks spread to his feet, as if they wanted to devour him. The 100 transformations Star-Lord soared into the air and steadily stopped in midair. He chuckled. Interesting, truly interesting. After pausing for a moment, he roared, 10,000 clones. So. In the blink of an eye, many clones of the 100 transformations Star-Lord appeared in all directions, all of them looking at him with evil intentions and sneering. This was the first time Wu had seen this scene. She covered her mouth in shock, her face filled with disbelief. The martial sect leader's expression also changed slightly as he pounced forward. "Let's go." Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi saw the opportunity and turned to run. While the two of them were completely entangled by the thousands of clones. "Marshal, leave quickly. I'll hold him back." The martial sect leader obviously realized that this was a huge danger and immediately ordered Wu to leave. "Sect leader, I'm not leaving. I want to fight with you and kill all of these cultivators." Marshal remained unmoved. A flame rose from his palm, and a roaring flame blade greeted the 100 transformations Star-Lord. "No, hurry up and leave. I have a way to deal with it and escape," the sect leader shouted. And then Marshal found himself flying as light as a swallow, flying out of the encirclement. However, the 100 transformations Star-Lord had too many complete clones, and a few of them intercepted her in midair. "Kill. I will kill all of you." Marshal was not afraid at all. He roared and attacked at the same time. However, although these were clones, their strength was still not weak. Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi had already escaped a distance away. Tang Zheng subconsciously turned his head to look back, and when he saw the dangerous Marshal, his heart moved, and he couldn't help but think of the scene when she saved him. "She saved my life. I can't just watch her die." If it was in the past, he would have turned a blind eye to it, but she had saved him after all. No matter what her goal was, Tang Zheng could not forget this life-saving grace. Thus, he gritted his teeth, turned around and rushed towards Marshal. Chapter 427. Seeing that, Tian Chanzi turned pale with fright and shouted, "Brat, what are you going back for?" "I'm going to save her." Tang Zheng did not even turn his head, and in the blink of an eye, he was already in front of Marshal, and with a sound, a sun-shooting arrow directly pierced through 3 clones, resolving Marshal's crisis. "Let's go." Tang Zheng picked up the sun-shooting arrow, grabbed Marshal's arm, used the Earth's shrinking technique, and quickly fled backwards, while a few clones chased after him. Sigh, I've really been killed by you. Tian Chanzi also turned around and took care of a few clones in a few moves. I'm not leaving. I want to fight side by side with Sect Master. Marshall shouted loudly. Tang Zheng glanced at the martial sect's Sect Master, who was surrounded by thousands of clones, and said, "Are you going to die with him? I don't want you to care." Marshall gritted his teeth and stared angrily at Tang Zheng. "If you want to die, it won't be that easy." Tang Zheng used the body-securing technique, and Marshall was immediately unable to move. He could not help but shout, "What did you do to me? Quickly let me go. I want to fight." "Fight my ass, let's go." Tang Zheng directly carried her on his shoulder, her full chest pressing down on Tang Zheng's shoulder, and then quickly drilled into the forest. Tian Chanzi still had a lingering fear. He patted his chest and said, "Luckily, I thought you were crazy and wanted to help the martial sect's sect master. So you've taken a fancy to this little girl." In the blink of an eye, the three of them disappeared into the dense forest, ignoring the intense sounds of battle coming from behind them. Marshall kept cursing and scolding Tang Zheng, but he was unable to move, to no avail. "Little girl, Tang Zheng saved you, and you're still scolding him. This is repaying kindness with enmity." Tian Chanzi said, "Who wants him to save me? I don't want him to save me. I want to fight side by side with Sect Master." Marshall did not appreciate it at all. You really don't know how to appreciate my kindness. Kid, where are we going next?" Tian Chanzi changed the topic. Tang Zheng was worried about the safety of the sorcerer tribe and said, "Let's go back to the sorcerer tribe." After returning to the tribe, with the help of the four symbols venerables, their strength would increase by a large margin, and they would be able to better defend against the invading enemies. "What about this girl? Are you going to bring her there too?" Tian Chanzi asked curiously. Tang Zheng hesitated, but in an instant, he understood that the witch clan had already been exposed to the world. Furthermore, he had seen the witch clan before, so even if he brought her back to the witch clan this time, there wouldn't be much of a problem. Because the most important thing was that if he did not bring her in, she would definitely return to find the martial sect leader without hesitation. That would be courting death. Tang Zheng certainly couldn't let his hard work go to waste. He couldn't let her die like this. "Yes, bring her along." "I'm not going. I'm going to find the sect leader." Wu still roared. "How noisy. I'll let her be quiet for a while." Tian Chanzi tapped on Wu Wu's head, and Wu Wu lost consciousness. After passing through the large illusion array outside the tribe, the tall city gate of the witch tribe finally appeared in front of his eyes. This was the first time Tian Chanzi had come to the witch tribe. He couldn't help but open his eyes wide and exclaim, "The scale is not small." Tang Zheng nodded, but realized that the people on top of the city gate were already cheering. "Lord Envoy is back! Lord Envoy is back!" Immediately, the entire tribe was in an uproar. The tall stone door opened, and a large group of people rushed out. The person in the lead was the witch clan elder and Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan took 2 steps and quickly rushed over. He excitedly stopped in front of Tang Zheng and said in disbelief, "Lord Envoy, you're finally back. Are you all right?" When Tang Zheng was snatched away by the martial sect, Yi Yuan was both angry and regretful. He felt extremely guilty, and when he saw that Tang Zheng was safe and sound, he was about to cry tears of joy. "I'm fine. Are all of you safe and sound?" Tang Zheng asked with concern. "Li Xiaotian is gone. Everyone else is fine," Yi Yuan said, but his gaze landed on Wu Wu. "Lord Envoy, why did you bring her here?" "It's a long story." As soon as he finished speaking, a white figure rushed over, followed closely by a black figure. Whiz! Xiao Bai jumped onto Tang Zheng's shoulder, hugged his head, and kept scratching his hair, intimately rubbing against his cheek. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth raised and said, "I'm fine, Xiao Bai." Zhizhi. Xiao Bai pouted, feeling very resentful. The thunder cloud beast stood in front of Tang Zheng, raising its head to look at him curiously. "Lord Envoy, let's go back to the house first." The witch clan elder looked at Tian Chanzi with a complicated expression and suggested. When the few of them returned to the tribe, the witch clan elder said impatiently. Lord Envoy, this trip to the Forbidden Grounds actually provoked such a powerful 100 transformations, Star Lord. What should we do now? One of the main goals of Tang Zheng's trip to the Forbidden Grounds was to clarify the mystery of the witch clan's entrapment. Now, he found out that it was most likely done by Qiyu, which caused him to be confused. Hearing the elder's question, Tang Zheng said in a deep voice, "This place is no longer safe. Whether it is the witch clan or the government, they will not turn a blind eye to the witch clan. So I suggest that the witch clan walk out of the 10,000 huge mountains." The reason the 9 revolving pill furnace had broken through was because it had absorbed the power of the sacrificial antiques. However, he had not been able to find that type of antique again, which made him feel quite regretful. However, to upgrade the Sumeru bag's grade, I still need several materials. Tian Chanzi casually mentioned several materials. When the elder heard this, he immediately said, "Our tribe has all of these." Tian Chanzi laughed. "Then it doesn't matter. In a few days, your Sumeru bag's grade can be upgraded." Tian Chanzi, can a destroyed magic treasure be refined again? Tang Zheng asked curiously. Of course. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. My dragon trapping rope has been destroyed, so can it be refined again? Yes. Tian Chanzi had seen the dragon trapping rope before. It's just that the dragon trapping rope's material is quite special. It would be best if it had the tendons of a flood dragon. Python flood dragon? Hearing that, Tang Zheng was overjoyed. Yi Yuan also thought of something and shouted, "Didn't we just kill a python flood dragon last time? The flood dragon's tendons are still in use." The elder also nodded. "Yes, it's currently in the warehouse. I'll get someone to go get it." Just at this time, they heard a commotion outside. A witch tribesman rushed in and shouted, "Lord Envoy, the girl you brought back is woken up. She was about to leave, but was stopped by us. She is currently rushing outside." Tang Zheng frowned and immediately rushed out, only to see that Wu had already rushed to the middle of the plaza, and more than 10 witch tribesmen were blocking her way. She was continuously charging forward, trying to rush over. "Halt!" Tang Zheng made a prompt decision and blocked her path. Wu glared at him as if his eyes were spitting fire and roared, "Tang Zheng, get out of the way!" "Humph, since you're here, it's not up to you anymore. In a few days, we'll leave this place. At that time, we'll naturally let you leave." Tang Zheng said bluntly, "I'm leaving now. I'm going to save the sect master." "Tang Zheng, your background is related to the martial sect. Don't you want to save the sect master?" Wu asked with red eyes. "I have no connection with the martial sect." "Nonsense. The jade pendant you have on you is the most precious treasure of the martial sect, and you still dare to say that you have nothing to do with it? In addition, do you know that the sect master and mistress also had a child, but in the end, the baby disappeared without a trace? I suspect that you are the baby from back then, and that the sect master is your biological father." Wu Yin said his guess in a flustered and exasperated manner. With that said, everything fell silent. Chapter 428. Tang Zheng's expression changed in an instant, and he said angrily, "You're talking nonsense?" He had always had a natural rejection of the martial sect, but now that he was told that he was the son of the martial sect's sect master, how could he not be angry? "I'm speaking the truth. If not, why would the sect leader want to save you?" Sect leader said that back then he adopted me because I have a baleful physique that can balance your pure yang energy. If the sect leader isn't your father, why would he put in so much effort? Wu Zhengfeng retorted. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. Although Marshall had saved him, this was the first time he had heard of this matter. "No wonder you're safe and sound. So this girl has a baleful body. I was saying that your body was about to explode. How could you be safe and sound in the blink of an eye?" Tian Chanzi was suddenly enlightened, but towards Tang Zheng's background, Tian Chanzi was helpless and had mixed feelings. "You have nothing to say, right? If I were you, I would hurry up and save the sect master. Otherwise, you will regret it for the rest of your life." Wu advised. "I won't save him. Don't even think about it. Lock her up." Tang Zheng once again used the body-securing technique, causing Marshall to be unable to move. Wu immediately shouted, "Tang Zheng, you bastard! Let me go! Let me go!" Tang Zheng was annoyed and said, "Gag her mouth and take her down." Circle plus, Tang Zheng's expression was unsettled. All of the witch clan members were silent. Only Tian Chanzi sighed, patted Tang Zheng's shoulder and said, "Follow me, I have something to say to you." The two of them went up the city wall and dismissed their attendants. Tian Chanzi went straight to the point and asked, "Is what that girl said true?" "Of course it's fake," Tang Zheng said without hesitation. "Don't answer me so quickly. Think about it first. Is it possible that it's true?" Tian Chanzi asked. Tang Zheng fell silent. His expression became solemn and even pained. "Sigh, I originally wanted to kill the sect leader of the martial organization, but it seems that this plan can only be temporarily shelved. As long as he does not provoke me, I will not find trouble with him." Tian Chanzi sighed and said. Tang Zheng shook his head and said, "Even if he really is my biological father, he abandoned me back then. I have nothing to do with him anymore." Blood is thicker than water. It's not something that can be explained in 1 or 2 sentences. My opinion is that we investigate it thoroughly. As for whether he will die at the hands of the 100 Faces Star-Lord, you don't have to worry about that. A person like him will definitely have some means to save his life. Tian Chanzi comforted. Tang Zheng continued to remain silent. "Let's refine artifacts first. Only by improving ourselves can we have a stronger ability to deal with future changes," Tian Chanzi said. For the next 2 days, he was immersed in refining artifacts. Refining artifacts and refining pills had something in common, and with Tian Chanzi's guidance, the Sumeru bag was successfully upgraded to an Earth-level magic treasure. The space inside had actually been greatly expanded, turning into a true small world, which was more than enough to hold the 4 symbols venerables. The dragon-trapped rope had also been successfully refined, and was still an Earth-level magic treasure. Unfortunately, the War Soul Sword and the 2 shooting sun arrows had fallen into the hands of the martial organization's sect leader, and he did not know when he would be able to find them. Tang Zheng could do nothing about it, but he knew that starving for 2 days was not a big deal. He only hoped that he could solve the problem of the 4 symbols venerables as soon as possible, and then he could migrate and leave the 10,000 huge mountains. On this day, the sun was high in the sky, and the blue sky was filled with white clouds. All of the witch clan members were gathered in the plaza, and even Marshall was standing in the plaza. Tang Zheng did not continue to use the body-locking technique on her, because she knew that she would not be able to escape from this tribe that was like an iron wall, so she did not waste her energy. However, she looked at Tang Zheng with eyes full of anger, while the others looked at Tang Zheng with eyes full of anticipation. Tang Zheng was trying to put the 4 symbols venerables into the Sumeru bag. He took out the Sumeru bag, and the Sumeru bag that was as thin as a cicada's wing floated in front of him. He activated his mental cultivation method, and a majestic force spread out in all directions, completely enveloping the 4 symbols venerables. The 4 symbols venerables immediately emitted a black light, but they did not move at all. What's going on? Tang Zheng was secretly shocked. Don't give up. The 4 symbols venerables are divine objects, and their own strength will resist other forces. Aren't you connected to the 4 symbols venerables? Emissary, communicate with them and have them let go of their instinctive resistance, Tian Chanzi suggested after pondering for a moment. Tang Zheng and the 4 symbols venerables were indeed connected. With a thought, he indeed felt that instinctive resistance. Although the 4 symbols venerables did not have life, they had a weak subconscious. Tang Zheng wanted to completely control this subconscious so that he could put them into the Sumeru bag. Whoosh! Suddenly, the light on one of the 4 symbols venerables disappeared, and then this 4 symbols venerables disappeared into thin air before everyone's eyes. Everyone was overjoyed, but held their breaths and continued to watch the remaining 3 4 symbols venerables. Tang Zheng was incomparably excited, but he suppressed his emotions and continued to cast his arts. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The remaining 3 4 symbols venerables disappeared at the same time. Deafening cheers immediately rang out. Tang Zheng could not help but curve the corners of his mouth. At this moment, The 4-4 symbol's venerables were quietly placed in his sumeru bag. With a wave of his hand, he put away the sumeru bag and kept it close to his body. Lord Emissary, congratulations. You've succeeded, the elder said excitedly. The obstacle to the witch clan leaving the 10,000 huge mountains had been completely removed. Of course the elder was happy. Before Tang Zhang could say anything, he heard a noisy rumbling sound coming from the sky. What was going on? Everyone raised their heads at the same time and saw a few large birds flying over from afar under the brilliant sunlight. It wasn't a big bird, it was a helicopter. Tang Zhang was shocked. Wasn't the sky above the 10,000 huge mountains a restricted area for flying? How could there be planes flying over safely, and more than one? In fact, Tang Zhang instantly understood that the restrictions in the 10,000 huge mountains must have completely disappeared, which was why the planes could safely fly into this area. These planes were obviously from the military. Tang Zhang's vision was very good, and he had already clearly seen the weapons mounted below the helicopters. There were missiles and cannons, and it was obvious that they did not come with good intentions. Everyone hide, Tang Zhang shouted, but most of the witch clan members were at a loss. Instead, they shouted, Lord Emissary, it's a big bird. We'll shoot it down for you. Someone immediately drew his bow and arrow, wanting to shoot down the helicopter. Tang Zhang did not know whether to laugh or cry. The witch clan did not recognize this thing at all, so he quickly stopped them. Everyone, listen to my orders. This is not a bird, but a helicopter. It is very dangerous. Everyone leave the tribe and hide in the forest. These hundreds of people were hidden in the forest, and the forest was very dense, which could greatly reduce the threat of the helicopter. Listen to the orders of the envoy. Hide. The elder repeated the order, and no one delayed any longer. The witch clan was a soldier, and even the women and children were tenacious warriors. In the blink of an eye, most of the people disappeared into the dense forest, leaving only a small group of people to guard the center of the square. Tian Chanzi frowned and said, They have come with ill intentions. Strike first to gain the initiative, and beat them down. Although the helicopter had the advantage of high altitude and long range, it was still not difficult for an expert like Tian Chanzi. Tang Zhang stopped him and said, Let's wait and see. He did not want to be enemies with the military. Listen up, the people below. Immediately put down your weapons and surrender. Otherwise, we will immediately open fire. A stern order came from the helicopter. Put down your weapons. Dream on. The witch clan members were indignant. They were all natural warriors, and their weapons were their lives. How could they surrender without a fight? Tang Zhang's expression was serious, and he asked loudly, What exactly are you doing? His voice was not loud, but it accurately reached the sky 100 meters above him, penetrating the rumbling sound of the propellers. I want all of you to not resist, surrender, and then come back with us. An order came from the helicopter. Impossible. Tang Zhang said without hesitation, We don't want to be enemies with you. You can leave on your own. Otherwise, if anything happens, I won't be responsible. In a helicopter, a person said hatefully, I already said that he was stubborn and would not surrender. Why don't we just open fire? There's no need to talk so much nonsense. If Tang Zhang saw this person, he would be very surprised, because this was his old acquaintance, the leader of the archaeological team, Lu Ming. Without a doubt, Lu Ming had reported the matter of the witch clan to his superiors, which was why the military had been attracted and even used a helicopter. Of course, the country would not ignore the sudden appearance of a mysterious force. Lu Ming was participating in the operation as a consultant for the military, and his words carried a lot of weight. When an officer heard this, he replied, We can't just open fire like this. The orders from the higher-ups are to bring these people back for investigation and research, not to completely eliminate them. Lu Ming had already seen Tang Zhang in the square through his binoculars. He hated Tang Zhang to the bone. So he said, These people are not ordinary people. If we don't use force to intimidate them, how can we make them obediently listen to us? It's just a few people dying. It's not a big deal. The officer looked at him in surprise, thinking that this person was even more ruthless than the people in the army. However, Lu Ming had the title of consultant above his head, so his opinion could not be underestimated. If they are really stubborn, then of course I will attack. The officer said, then continued to shout to the people below through the loudspeaker, since you are not enemies, then you should surrender without a fight, because this is the only way you will not be injured. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. I will count to 10 and immediately throw in. Otherwise, we will immediately open fire. 10, 9, 8. Hearing the countdown coming from above their heads, the faces of the people in the square turned ugly. The elder said angrily, Sir Envoy, let's resist. There are only 5 big birds in total. Let's shoot them all down. Yes, take them down. The other witch clan members agreed. Chapter 429. 4, 3, 2, 1. After the countdown, the atmosphere in the plaza reached its peak. It was as if the air had stopped flowing. The witches were filled with righteous indignation as they all asked to fight. Tang Zheng really did not want to have too much friction with the military. If he shot down the other party's helicopter, then things would get out of control. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a trace of complacency and cunning as he urged, Did you see that? I already said that these people are stubborn. If we don't let them suffer a little, they won't surrender. Fire. The officer had no choice but to order in a deep voice, fire. Bang, bang, bang. The cannons spat out flames as the 23mm bullets whistled towards the plaza. The 5 helicopters opened fire at the same time with great power. The whistling bullets arrived in the blink of an eye. Tang Zheng shouted loudly and dispersed. Everyone was like monkeys as they quickly retreated from the plaza. Boom, boom, boom. The bullets struck the plaza. The originally hard plaza was torn apart by such a huge force. The mysterious lines turned into ruins, stone fragments flew everywhere, and the smell of gunpowder floated in the air. The witch clan's eyes were bloodshot, as if they were about to spit out fire. They roared, Lord Envoy, they destroyed our plaza. They destroyed our home. Originally, the 4 symbols venerables stood in the plaza, so this plaza had a special meaning. But now, it had been turned into ruins by the guns and cannons. How could they not be angry? Tang Zheng's face was also ashen. He did not expect the other party to open fire so recklessly. They really wanted to kill them. The witch clan respected him so much and believed in him. How could he just watch as the witch clan died under these guns and cannons? Thus, he muttered to himself for a moment before ordering, counterattack. Let them see my strength. Since there was no way to negotiate peacefully, then he would show off his muscles and strength. Only then would he be able to increase his bargaining chips. Wu had been silently observing Tang Zheng the entire time. Seeing that he had given the order, he teased, Aren't you afraid of a backlash if you go against the military? Tang Zheng coldly snorted and said, They were the ones who started the war first, so they can't blame me. I remember that your martial sect has a good relationship with the military. Marshall curled her lips and said, The martial organization is related to the upper echelons of the government and has no substantial relationship with the military. For the time being, Tang Zheng did not care about this matter. Instead, he ordered the shamans to take action. The shamans moved at lightning speed. They quickly climbed up the tall city wall and aimed the heavy crossbow at the helicopter hovering in the sky. These crossbows were extremely sturdy, and their arrows were as thick as an arm. Their lethality was astonishing, and ordinary people would find it difficult to control these big fellows. Only the witch clan's innate divine strength would have such strength. The shamans had been hunting since they were young, so they had a natural advantage in hunting. They quickly aimed at a helicopter, and the elder immediately ordered, Fire! Whoosh! The arrow pierced through the air with an ear-piercing sound, heading straight for one of the helicopters. The people on the helicopter had already seen the witch tribesmen shooting arrows at them, but they didn't think it was enough. After all, they were hovering hundreds of meters in the air, and ordinary arrows wouldn't have such a range. However, they had completely underestimated the strength of the witch clan. Only when the huge crossbow arrow was close to them did they come to a realization. They were so scared that their backs were drenched in cold sweat. They shouted, Enemy attack! Quickly dodge! Dodge! However, it was already too late. The The crossbow arrow fiercely and accurately shot into the helicopter. The huge inertia caused the helicopter to climb up for a distance before quickly falling down. Mayday! Mayday! Hurried shouts came from within the helicopter. Although the arrow did not take anyone's life, it directly destroyed the helicopter and prevented it from flying. The helicopter quickly fell into the dense forest. When the other teammates on the helicopter saw this, they turned pale with fright and immediately shouted, "Climb up! Quickly climb up!" The remaining 4 helicopters quickly climbed up and pulled away. The military roared in anger, "Open fire! Destroy the crossbows on the city wall!" Boom! 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 The bullets that filled the sky fiercely shot onto the city wall. The witch tribesmen had long since left the city wall and were not injured. However, the city wall was riddled with holes. "Sir Envoy, our crossbow arrows have been destroyed. What should we do now?" the elder asked. Before Tang Zheng could answer, Tian Chanzi had already taken out his treasured sword and said, "Without the crossbow, I will still take them down." Tang Zheng also drew his bow and aimed the sun-shooting arrow at the helicopter.
Attack!
The 2 of them attacked at the same time. The sun-shooting arrow pierced through the air, while Tian Chanzi used the imperial sword technique. The treasured sword turned into a ray of sword light and slashed out. "Enemy attack! Enemy attack!" Screams came from the helicopter again, but then came another wave of cries for help. The 2 helicopters directly fell into the forest. The members of the remaining 2 helicopters were stunned. This was an asymmetrical battle. The opponent's methods were too terrifying. "Missiles! Fire the missiles!" The officer made a prompt decision and roared at the top of his lungs. Whiz whiz! 2 missiles flew out from below the cabin, heading straight for the hiding spot of Tang Zheng and the others. "Run!" Tang Zheng shouted. Everyone immediately rushed out of the collapsed city wall. After a rumbling explosion, the entire witch tribe was engulfed in a sea of fire, and the plaza was completely overturned like a piece of land that had been plowed by an iron shovel. Lu Ming's face revealed a fierce and proud expression as he shouted, "Let's see how you guys escape. Fire! Continue to fire!" Whiz whiz! Another 2 missiles. This time, the witch tribe was completely turned into ruins, causing the witch tribesmen hiding in the forest to gnash their teeth. "Gigi!" Suddenly, Xiaobai called out to the thundercloud beast. The thundercloud beast curled its lips and said with a reluctant look, "You want me to do it again?" With that, it flapped its little wings and soared into the air, flying straight towards the helicopter. "What is that?" The crew looked at the small figure that was getting closer and closer. "No matter what it is, fire and shoot it down," Lu Ming shouted. Pung pung pung. The cannons fired, but the thundercloud beast was too agile. It shuttled through the rain of bullets and was unharmed. It quickly flew to the top of the helicopter. Roar! The thundercloud beast roared, and its body quickly grew. In the blink of an eye, it returned to its true form and became a huge monster. The crew felt that there was a black mass above their heads, completely blocking the sunlight. The helicopter flipped and finally saw the huge monster above their heads. Everyone's heart thumped, and they were scared out of their wits. Although they were soldiers who had undergone strict training, but in the face of such a monster, they could not help but feel fear. Lu Ming was so scared that his eyes rolled back, and he almost fainted. "Fire!" Everyone quickly reacted and shouted. However, the thundercloud beast did not give them the chance. Its claws slapped a helicopter, and the helicopter immediately fell into the forest. Then, the thundercloud beast directly grabbed the propeller of the last helicopter. With a fierce tug, the propeller that was spinning rapidly was directly torn from the fuselage. The helicopter lost its power and fell straight to the square. Lu Ming and the others in the cabin screamed at the top of their lungs. Lu Ming's intestines turned green. "How can I be so unlucky? In order to see Tang Zheng suffer, I couldn't wait to volunteer to be a consultant. Now, I can't even keep my life." Seeing that the helicopter was about to fall in the square, some people were ready to jump out of the cabin directly. However, at such a fast speed, jumping out will only lead to death. One by one, they were scared out of their wits. Their faces were pale to the extreme, and their screams almost broke through the solid cabin wall. Who? At the critical moment, the thundercloud beast grabbed the top of the cabin, and the helicopter's falling momentum immediately reduced. It stopped steadily, but it was only a little distance from the ground. The screams of the crowd stopped abruptly. They looked at the scene in disbelief. They didn't die in time. From the hole in the cabin, they could clearly see the figure of the thundercloud beast. Everyone immediately understood that they were saved by this monster, and their hearts couldn't help but hang in the air. Bang! The cabin landed safely, and the thundercloud beast also flew down. The witch tribesmen immediately surrounded the cabin, and in an instant, the cabin was completely surrounded. Before the people in the cabin could react, they saw that they were surrounded by densely packed, strong people. Each of them stared at them with an unfriendly expression, as if they wanted to eat them alive. Lu Ming was scared and quickly hid in the innermost area. He was very clear about the strength of the witch tribe. Without the threat of the helicopter, they were no match for the witch tribe. Get out! Tang Jing flew into a rage. Although the witch tribe was about to leave, their home, which they had lived in for so many years, was destroyed. Everyone was filled with anger. The officer led 5 soldiers to jump off the helicopter, but each of them held a gun and looked at each other warily. Do you still want to use your gun? 3F, take away their guns. Tang Jing shouted. A few of the witch tribesmen seemed to have springs under their feet as they immediately jumped into the group of soldiers. Before the other party even had the time to pull the trigger, they had already seized their guns. The soldiers' faces were ashen. They were also elite soldiers in the army, but in front of these unarmed people, they didn't have the slightest ability to resist. There's another person inside. Get him out. Tang Jing locked onto Lu Ming, who was hiding in the corner of the cabin, and shouted. As a result, Lu Ming was dragged out like a dead dog. The witch tribe people recognized him and guessed that he must have told them about the whereabouts of the witch tribe, which was why they were attacked. Therefore, no one was polite to him. Seeing that he was not cooperating, they directly punched him in the stomach. He immediately vomited, bent his body, and curled up on the ground like a shrimp. He was in a sorry state. Lu Ming, we meet again. You're really good at attracting so many people. Tang Jing knew that the other party was deliberately targeting him. He must have added fuel to the fire this time. Lu Ming kept quiet out of fear and said while trembling, Tang Jing, this is not my fault. I was forced. I don't want to be your enemy. Tang Jing coldly snorted. He was too lazy to talk nonsense with him and directly turned to stare at the 6 soldiers. Chapter 430. A few of the soldiers were obviously much more unyielding than Lu Ming. Although their faces were still pale, they did not cower and beg for mercy. The leading officer said, What do you want? Tang Jing coldly snorted and said, I still want to ask you what exactly do you want? We have been ordered to bring back all of you from the witch clan, as well as you, Tang Jing. The officer said truthfully, Oh, what are you bringing us back for? Of course it's to be investigated. After so many years, the witch clan has reappeared in the world. It's impossible for the country to ignore them. Obviously, Lu Ming had already reported the matter of the witch clan being the descendants of Qiyu to his superiors. Although the cultivators had already been expelled, the country naturally knew that there were many cultivators in the long history of Huaxia. They also knew how powerful the cultivators were, which was why they had mobilized so many people when they found out about the appearance of the witch clan. We won't accept any investigation. Don't be delusional. Yi Yuan impatiently refused and roared, Ah Yuan, don't speak nonsense. Listen to the orders of the Lord Envoy. The witch clan elder immediately reprimanded. Yi Yuan secretly snorted and looked at Tang Jing. The military also looked at Tang Jing. Originally, when they heard Lu Ming's report that the witch clan were all under Tang Jing's orders, many people were still suspicious and did not believe it. Now, it seemed that the news was not fake. This for Tang Jing really had such a high prestige. The officer could not help but look at him curiously, guessing what kind of ability he had to be able to subdue such a mysterious tribe. Everyone looked at Tang Jing, only to see him think for a while then say, The witch clan will not accept the investigation. No matter who comes, it will be impossible for them to do this. Tang Zheng still did not know what the official attitude was towards the appearance of the witch clan, but he did not want the witch clan to become Xiao Bai's mice and be investigated and studied by others, and even more so, he could not let the witch clan lose their freedom. Therefore, his unyielding attitude had to be expressed first, letting others know that they were not dough that could be kneaded at will. The officer widened his eyes in surprise and said, "Do you want to go against the country?" "I am from Huaxia. Of course, I don't want to go against the country, but the people of the witch tribe trust me. I have the responsibility to protect their safety and not let them get hurt." Tang Zheng said, "But the witch clan is not an ordinary person. They are a powerful force. The authorities will definitely not allow such an uncontrollable force to exist in this world." The officer said resolutely, "Ha ha ha." Hearing this, Tang Zheng laughed mockingly. Uncontrollable power, then the martial organization, the Li Palace, and even the Azure Dragon Palace. Could it be controlled? Tang Zheng could believe that these three mysterious organizations were definitely uncontrollable, but the officials swore that the witch tribe was uncontrollable. That was because they thought that the witch tribe was easy to bully. Otherwise, why didn't the officials find trouble with these three organizations? The other party stared blankly. Obviously, with his level, he did not know about the three great organizations. Your level is not high enough. Report to your superiors and tell them that it is impossible to control or threaten the witch tribe. If they want to negotiate, we can sit down and have a good talk." Tang Zheng said coldly. Tang Zheng had long expected the officials to take action, but he did not expect them to come so quickly. Since they were here, then he would settle the matter of the witch tribe once and for all. Of course, it was not appropriate to keep fighting and killing. Then, he would display his strength and then sit at the negotiating table to negotiate and reach a condition that both sides could accept. "You're not going to kill us?" the military asked in surprise. "I'm not a murderous demon. I don't like to kill people," Tang Zheng said. The other party heaved a sigh of relief. Even Lu Ming, who was so nervous that he could not breathe, had a look of joy on his face. He quickly said, "Tang Zheng, don't worry. We will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. However, you can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment. You repaid kindness with enmity and destroyed the homeland of the witch tribe. Lu Ming, obediently accept your punishment." Tang Zheng shouted loudly, reaching out his hand and grabbing Lu Ming. Lu Ming immediately cried out miserably, "Don't kill me, don't kill me. I won't dare to do it again." "Humph, if I believe you, even a pig can climb a tree. Last time, the witch tribe saved your life from the hands of the demon god, but you didn't know how to be grateful and repaid kindness with enmity. This time, I'll let you know the consequences of repaying kindness with enmity." Tang Zheng shouted loudly. Then, with a kacha, Lu Ming's arms twisted like fried dough twists. A heart-wrenching scream pierced through the sky. The witch tribe said with great hatred, "Letting this kind of person go so easily is really letting him off easy. With my temper, I can't wait to break his neck." The soldiers looked at each other, but no one dared to make a move. The screams came to an abrupt end. Lu Ming had already fainted from the pain. At this moment, more witch tribesmen walked out of the forest. "Lord Envoy, we have captured the prisoners." Dozens of soldiers were being pushed forward while staggering. They were in a sorry state, and there were even signs of smoke and fire on their faces. Obviously, these soldiers were the ones who had just escaped from the plane. Because of the dense and tall forest, even if the plane crashed, these people were lucky enough to survive. When the officer saw that his subordinates had survived, he was extremely excited. He wanted to rush over but was stopped, but he still waved his hand and shouted, "God bless you. It's great that you're all fine. Everyone, don't worry, you will definitely return safely." Tang Zheng sneered. "As long as you don't play any tricks, I guarantee that you will be able to leave this place alive." The officer hesitated for a moment, then said, "I promise, we will definitely cooperate. However, if we are trapped here for a long time, and the outside world does not know about this, they will definitely send reinforcements. I can let you go back alone to report my words, But if you dare to play any tricks, your companions won't be able to survive. Tang Zheng threatened. The officer hurriedly nodded. Don't worry, I will definitely not play any tricks and report the truth. Take them all down and watch over them. Also, take him out. Tang Zheng gave the order, and immediately, the witch tribesmen separated the two sides and took them away. Lord Envoy, what should we do next? The witch tribe elder asked worriedly. Before the other party can react, our large army will first leave this place and hide. Tang Zheng said. Tian Chanzi curled his lips and said, There's no need to go through so much trouble. Whoever dares to harm the witch tribe, just kill them. Obviously, Tian Chanzi believed in strength more than anything else. As for the officials, he did not even put them in his eyes. However, Tang Zheng was a modern person, so it was impossible for him to have such a concept. He still adopted a safe strategy and explained, Wouldn't it be more perfect if we could solve the problem without fighting and killing? In any case, the witch tribe will listen to your orders. Whatever you say will be done. Tian Chanzi shrugged his shoulders indifferently. I'll have to trouble you with this matter. I'll go meet with the officials. You take these people and hide. Tang Zheng already had an idea. Hide where? Tang Zheng glanced at Wu, leaned close to Tian Chanzi's ear and whispered, Go abroad. Not far from here is the border. There are small countries over there. It's easier to gain a foothold. Even if the officials want to do something, it's too far away. Tian Chanzi looked at him with interest and chuckled. You're not stupid. This plan is not bad. As long as we occupy a place, we can attack and retreat, and the officials might not be able to do anything to us. There were many small countries in the southwest border. Although their territories were not large, they were still legitimate regimes. The people of the witch tribe could ignore international regulations and enter these countries to establish their own positions. If the Huaxia officials wanted to carry out cross-border operations, it would not be that easy. With such a mysterious external force as support, Tang Zheng would have more bargaining chips in the negotiations. There's no time to lose. Pack up and leave immediately. Tang Zheng decided to say. The witch tribe did not have any objections. They absolutely believed in Tang Zheng, so they quickly packed up. However, most of their belongings were destroyed in the flames of war, so there was not much to pack up. Many people gathered in the ruins of the plaza and stared blankly at the ruins beneath their feet. This plaza was extremely important to the shaman tribe, but now it was destroyed. Now it was time to leave, and many people could not help but cry. Lord Envoy, come and take a look. What is this? Suddenly, a cry of alarm came from the crowd, and many of the witch tribe people surrounded him. What? Tang Zheng and the others walked over, only to see that a small piece of the ruins in front of them had been cleared out, revealing a white object. How could there be something white under the plaza? A question mark surfaced in Tang Zheng's mind. Clean up all the ruins, the witch tribe elder ordered. Thus, the witch tribe people quickly took action. Not long later, all the ruins in the plaza were completely cleaned up, revealing a layer of white below. The witch tribesmen all widened their eyes in confusion. What was this? The witch tribe elder was also confused. He had lived for so many years, but he had never heard of these things being buried under the plaza. These things were like jasper, pure white and flawless. Furthermore, there were traces of power rippling out from them. It was obvious that they were not ordinary things. If not for the fact that the plaza had been indiscriminately bombed, these things would have been covered in dust. Tian Chanzi also looked at these white things curiously. He squatted down and gently rubbed them. With a bit of strength in his hand, a piece of it flew up and floated in the air without any support. The crowd cried out in alarm. This is too magical. These things were in the shape of long strips. One of them was 2 meters wide and had a silver-white luster, as if it had divine power. Wu stared at this scene with his mouth agape. Once again, he witnessed the miraculous nature of the cultivation world. Tian Chanzi squinted his eyes, but after a while, he shook his head and said in disappointment, I have never seen this kind of thing before. This material seems to be very special. Tang Zheng, what do you think? Tang Zheng stared blankly at the stone. A piece of information suddenly appeared in his heart, a piece of information regarding this mysterious thing. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.